My stepfather stole my inheritance and my mother just let him.
Daddy, no!
For background, my mom, Jen, 50 female, and my stepdad, Brian, 56 male, have been together since I was 11. Well, I say that, but 11 is the age I became aware of their relationship, as she asked if we would be okay with him moving into the family home. Prior to this, she never mentioned dating anyone, and we had never spent any time with Brian. None of our other immediate relatives ever mentioned him to us either. By the way, this comes from user ExcellentFee3010. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Savannah.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So if you would do something different, let us know in the comments. As OP says, the day Jen asked us, my sister Ruth, 26 female, was sat next to me and asked to be excused to her bedroom. My other brother Tom, 23 male, was not home to have any input. I was stuck by myself with Jen, who did not seem to understand how she completely blindsided us. She had no interest in answering my question about why she had not told us. Her only interest was knowing if we accepted this stranger moving in. Brian moved in the following week. After Brian moved in, there were several times where both he and Jen threatened to move away without me, Tom, and Ruth. They would say, if you don't like it, we'll get a new house and start over. Threatening just child abandonment? Okay. This threat could be in relation to something like Brian telling me I shouldn't be anywhere in the house except for my bedroom and me standing up for myself. I used to get called stupid by Brian a lot. If I did something he didn't like, such as finishing my homework before going to dinner, he would say, only someone this stupid wouldn't think to eat first. Hey, Brian, that's stupid. Any grievance I had with Brian was never acknowledged by Jen. If I raised an issue with her, she would deflect and change the subject. Brian caused a lot of problems knowing that there were no consequences for him. Brian never concealed the fact that he wanted Jen and only Jen. We were just the baggage that he only had to put up with for so many more years. Tom, Ruth, and I were no longer taken on family holidays. The last one we got to go on was when I was my godmother's bridesmaid at a destination wedding. I was 10. Jen and Brian would go on 3 holidays a year without us. Living under that roof was the loneliest I had ever felt. The second I became of age, I bought my first apartment and moved out. No more Brian, no more Jen. Tom and Ruth wanted to come with me, but Jen wouldn't allow it, and honestly, I don't know how I was supposed to fight for them. I was working long shifts, sometimes nights. Though Ruth was a year younger than me, Tom was not. I doubt a court would appoint a fresh 18-year-old as their guardian with Jen in the picture, which is fair. That's probably accurate. One thing I did leave in Jen's care was my valuable book collection. I won't disclose exactly how much it's worth, but it's in the 7-figure range. You have $1 million book collection at 18?
Wait, what? How do you... Where... Just... I imagine, like, the SpongeBob episode with, like, when Gary is, like, the librarian with the full library. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking just, like, shelves... You know, like a little shelf in the corner, like, oh yeah, there's my $1 million books. Like, this is like a room dedicated. It has to be.
Let's get into this here. Some of these books were my inheritance. I was always told that they are to be looked after, never to be played with, and have to be stored correctly. I couldn't do that in my apartment, so Jen continued to keep them for me. I had no reason to distrust her with them. Earlier today, I called Tom as I was traveling home from seeing a friend. Tom mentioned that he had gone to Jen's house to collect some things. Because he was there, I asked Tom to find out if Jen had managed to get the remainder of my books authenticated. She and I had spoken about doing so a few weeks prior. Tom asked Brian about my books, and then Brian laughed and said, "What books? My books?" Tom said, "No, her books that you've been looking after." Brian then repeated, "My books." So this is when you go get your books.
My books.
You gotta go get your books right now. Go get them.
Go get your books, girl.
I was listening to this through Tom's headphones, so I told him to get Brian to clarify. No, there's no need to clarify. He said they're his books. Go get your books.
It's true.
Tom asked Brian what he meant by his books. Brian said, "They're ours now. We bought them." My heart sank the moment I heard him say that. Jen was not home. I tried calling her, no answer. Eventually, she called me back a couple of hours later, but not before Brian called me a pathetic liar, spoke ill of Ruth, and claimed her books, which she had in fact sold years ago, while still insisting mine were also his property. To confirm, I never sold anyone a single book. They did not buy me any books. All the books in my collection are to be sold at a future date or passed down to my children. Brian and Jen never gave me a single penny. Jen was unwilling to confront him about it. I am not allowing them to steal part of my children's inheritance. Jen agreed that she never bought my books, but Brian refuses to give them back to me. I told Jen that her inadequacy as a parent, failure to reprimand Brian over the years, and her lack of love for her own children has meant this moment was a long time coming. I say something along the lines of, you neglected me. You allowed him to take my happiness away for years. You let him walk all over me. I will not let you steal from my children. If this is how it has to be, I will take you to the cleaners. I will report you both for theft. I will sue you for everything I can. I will cut you out of my life again. You mean nothing to me. I need to know if I was out of line for what I said to Jen. I was very emotional at the time. There is an update. I think you're 18, you're certified crash out. Brian's telling you, hey, I'm stealing your $1 million books. They're mine. And your mom is like, I just don't want to say anything. It's, I would say everyone sucks because Brian sucks. Your mom sucks for not defending you against Brian. And it's like, I think from the sounds of it sounds like your mom's in a bad situation with Brian as well. That has just progressed to a point where she can't stand up for herself. She's in a toxic relationship with him. Can't break out of it. So it's unfortunate that you were mad at her, but it's fair because she did. She for the whole upbringing, let this guy walk all over you. So your feelings are justified. It's not that everyone sucks. It's just that the situation sucks all around and Brian is the worst.
Yeah, and I feel like if anything, you could probably just go and get the book. Unless they are locking you out of the house or something, and are like, no, it's our property, la 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 la. But
I wouldn't be surprised if Brian didn't work and just stayed at home all day anyway,
and just watched over those books.
Yeah, he's like, why do I need to work? We've got $1 million book collection.
I am the keeper of the books. I do not work. My only job is to protect the books.
Yeah, my only job is to protect the books and also yell at you, and not like you or your kids. Let's see this update. I hope you steal your books back. It's been a little over 2 weeks, but it has felt like an eternity. I'll start off by saying there's good news and bad news.
Uh-oh.
The good news is I got my books back.
Yeah!
Yes! All of them, unscathed. They are physically in my possession and will remain in my care indefinitely. The bad news is I did not take Jen and Brian to the cleaners. Ultimately, my goal was to get my books back, no matter the route I had to take to do so. After speaking with Tom, I had already contacted my lawyer to set things in motion. They advised that they would contact Jen and Brian as a matter of urgency. Not long after speaking with me, Jen contacted Ruth to try and convince her to get me to speak with her. It was only going to be her attempt to get me to back down. I do not bluff. She knows this. Ruth said she hoped I would follow through with things and then ended the call. Jen tried to call back, but Ruth ignored her. Then it was Tom's turn. Jen was still in agreement that my books were mine, but Brian was not having any of it, and Jen was not putting him in his place. Tom said he agreed with what I was doing. I was told that Brian was shouting obscenities about me in the background, things like ungrateful witch. Tom told me they deserved it, and so much more. My lawyer contacted them on my behalf 2 days later. All contact with me was to go through the firm from then on. According to Jen, she told Brian that he needed to stop trying to claim my books. If he was intent on keeping them, he needed to make me an offer of their current value plus 30%, but if I said no, it meant no. Brian was still adamant. He didn't need to offer me anything because the books already belonged to them, and he didn't think I would win a legal battle, despite Jen confirming I had everything that guaranteed they would lose. Well, because Brian's a dummy boy. A couple more days later, my lawyer said Jen reached out to them on her own and said she wanted me to retrieve all of my books. I had already made them aware that Brian was an issue because of his presence at the family home, but she assured them that he would be gone for the whole day. Some days ago, I arranged for suitable transportation for the books to my house. When I got to the family home, Brian's car was not in the garage or front patio, which they always are whenever he's home, so I proceeded into the house. I know he would have tried to provoke me, even though I'm not a violent person, because he wants to have a way to make me squirm. I walked right past Jen and went to where my books were. Brian has never been granted access by Jen, so they were perfectly secure, and I loaded them all into the van. It took a while. Brian won't notice they're gone because he's never been able to get into that room, and Jen probably won't say anything. Even if she does, neither of them knows my address. Jen was talking to me throughout, trying to get me to sit with her and speak like adults. She was saying cliche things like she regrets how she treated me and blah, 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 blah. If she had said all of this years ago, maybe I would have listened, but even now, I had to retrieve my own possessions in secret because she couldn't stand up for me as she should have. Words are empty. And by the way, I know what's not empty, and it's the archive with full episodes with stories like this one on your favorite podcast platform, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, just search OK Storytime. We have a little bit more story left. Yeah, I think that OP's assessment is fair. Like, it's just words. It's a little too late. I needed you to show me with actions that you would, value your children over Brian.
I agree. I think I think you did the right thing, as in, like, I'm going to get my stuff and I'm going to go. And I think, honestly, it's a good idea that you didn't give them, like, your address. Like, they don't know where you live and stuff, which kind of stinks because obviously you want to, like, share that. But, like, if it's a thing in your life, you don't want them, like, bringing that into your space, then that's going to be all chaotic and it's just not going to work. So I think you did the right thing of getting your stuff and leaving it at that. I know, like, your mom probably feels really bad. Jen probably feels very, like, upset about the whole thing, but, like, as Dakota said, like, it's actions over words. Like, it's not like she still hasn't shown. Like, she'll say, I regret this and I'm sorry and I feel this way. Like, okay, cool, but, like, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, honestly, I think the only thing that could happen at this point would be she'd have to leave him. She'd have to leave him and, like, never look back and, like, completely cut every trace of him out of her life. And that would be, like, the first step that you could take to atone for letting this guy kind of run roughshod over your whole family.
Yeah.
Like your children.
Yeah, literally came in and, like, changed the whole dynamic and was like, that's just how it is.
And that doesn't fix it. That's just step one.
Yeah.
That opens the door to being able to fix things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Let's finish this story. Yeah. I did not say a word the entire time. My lawyer said everything that needed to be said, including that as long as Jen and Brian do not try to falsely claim my books, the matter was resolved once they were returned to my custody. Once I finished loading everything, I returned my keys to the family home. Jen tried to convince me to keep them, but I have no intent of returning there. The truth is, that place stopped being the family home the day Brian moved in. I have zero happy memories of it. My old room makes me sad to think about because it's a constant reminder that it was the only place I was permitted to be. Even writing this hurts. I needed my parent to look out for me. She failed in all other aspects apart from these books. I wish Jen had loved me like a parent should, but yes, I have my books back. That is a good outcome. And that's the end of that story. Opie, I would heavily suggest therapy. And, you're not wrong for how you feel, but if you're able to somehow mend fences and, like, come to reconnect with your mother, it would probably bring you a lot more peace in the long run than staying disconnected from her forever would.
My friend mocked my body in front of our coworkers, so I snapped at her. I have big front airbags. You go, girl.
Yeah!
You do.
Let's go!
I'm currently 52 kilograms, and there's nothing I can do to change the size of these things unless I have surgery. I'm also extremely shy and from a very conservative family, so my resentment and shame towards my bust is an ongoing issue.
Hey, you never
Stop
have.
it!
Why do they call it that?
You never
That's
have
what it's
to
called.
be ashamed of your bust.
That's what it's called.
Ew!
Wait, you know?
Only dudes do that!
No, it's not. No, babe.
First of all, that's not true. Second of all,
when you take measurements.
second of all, bust.
When you take shut up. When you take measurements, that you get the measurement of your bust.
Bust.
And then those little, those little statues, Riley, that are of the guys' faces and like their shoulders and like their chest, basically. That whole thing is called a bust.
I got a bust?
Well,
could
you
get a
don't have a
bust.
bust.
I'm confused. Do Jews men have buses or not?
Well, I guess, yeah. Well, I actually don't know if you would refer to that as a bust.
Do you have a bust?
Man.
Busty.
Oh, that's why they say she's so busted.
Yeah, no, I was just making the
I thought it was because her jeans were too tight that it looked like they were
Bust.
a bust open.
Lord have mercy. I'm about to bust.
We're learning a lot of things in this live stream.
Education.
Education.
By the way, this comes from a username, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie,
I'm Dakota.
I'm Riley.
and we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. Riley doesn't even know what a bust is.
I'm learning.
And we're just gonna guess what we would do in this situation, but let us know what you would do down in the comments below. OP says, my friend Sarah is one of those unfiltered free thinkers who says whatever's on her mind. Gosh, I wonder if I know anyone like that.
Bust. Oh no. Oh no.
She's also slim, and her chest is very much in proportion to the rest of her body. We work together, and I'm always secretly jealous of how great shirts and tops look on her, whereas I feel like I look very sloppy and unprofessional with oversized, ill-fitting clothes. Sarah has this way of always bringing up my front airbags in conversation, starting off complimentary, but often ending with a subtle insult. She knows they're a physical feature that I'm uncomfortable with, but doesn't let up. Examples of things that she'll say are how my front airbags look good now, but give it a few years and they'll be down to my knees, ha ha ha. Or she'll show me comments on Reddit where people are discussing chest size preferences, and most are commenting how much they prefer a smaller bust over large. Or just a general reminder of how work or men will never take me seriously because of my cartoon front airbags. I know she's trying to have lighthearted fun, but it gets to me, and I've told her a few times to drop it before. Now that we're working from home, we all have daily video calls and meetings. Uniform is not necessary, and we can wear what we like. A few days ago, it was extremely hot, and I was wearing a lighter, more revealing top than my usual baggy cover-ups. And during this video call, in front of 6 other colleagues, Sarah starts vocalizing her thoughts on my appearance. Holy crap! Put those away! You look like you're in a what? In a corno? We don't need to see that first thing in the morning. Ha 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 ha.
This is where you go directly to whatever supervisory department is in your company and you go, her comments about my appearance made me deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I would appreciate if she would reprimanded and formally warned to not refer to me in such a way.
Yeah. I was mortified. One other colleague laughed along, but the rest looked uncomfortable. I felt close to tears, made an excuse, and left the meeting. Sarah called me up half an hour later asking me what was wrong, and I went off on her.
Let's go.
I told her to go F herself and that I was sick of her constant jabs about my appearance. I went on a 10-minute tirade and hung up. Sarah has been off sick since that day, and we haven't spoken again. I'm wondering if I was too harsh and maybe should call and apologize for my outburst. Was I the a-hole? And we do have some relevant comments here, but what do we think, people in the room?
No, I don't think you were off for that. You put up with it for a long time, and I think she should probably get fired, honestly.
Yeah. Public apology on the Zoom meeting. Trying
Honestly,
to get everyone to be like, I am sorry. This is what I said.
Yeah.
Verbatim. And I am deeply sorry.
honestly, that
But
sounds
see, I don't
like
know
what
if OP would even
HR
want
would
that.
do.
I would want that.
Because then it just brings more attention to
OP's bazookas. Yeah.
the situation.
But we got some comments here. Nanny Liv says, info, have you been clear before about how you feel about her comments? OP says, yes, several times. I had even opened up to her a few years ago about my personal insecurities stemming mainly from my family making me feel ashamed of them. Sarah is fully aware that it's a sensitive issue. We got an edit number 1. I'm fuming. I just just spoke with a colleague, John, who was part of the video call that day, and he told me that Sarah's been telling everyone that it's me that's been bullying her and making her feel insecure about her appearance.
What?
See, we've got that jealousy thing.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
got a case of the jealousy thing. Yikes. When she made those comments during the meeting, it was in retaliation to how I've made her feel. Apparently, I said she looks like a boy and called her flat-chested and ugly several times in the past. I have never and would never say this. I don't even understand the stupid boy body insult because a small bust has always looked very beautiful and classy in my eyes. Anyway, John knows that she's full of crap and has suggested that we speak with HR. The others will also back me up. I know most people here suggested to do this, and I wasn't sure at first, but F it. I'm reporting her. I don't know why I even considered her a friend. She's effing mental and annoying. And we do have a second update, people.
Yeah, hey.
Let's go.
HR yesterday is when
Yeah.
that needed to happen.
Yeah, honestly.
HR immediately.
Yep. Edit number 2. I now feel stupid for even asking the question, am I the a-hole? I thought I may have been at one point because the video call was amongst mostly workmates rather than clients, and I wasn't sure if my sensitivity towards my body image made me overreact to a joke that could have been innocent. I now realize it wasn't. I've also spoken to another coworker who is closer to Sarah, and she thinks Sarah may have already reported me to HR. What? She said the phone conversation we had after the meeting was filled with harmful bullying language and physical threats. It wasn't a pleasant phone call, but the worst thing I said was she should go F herself and that I didn't want to speak to her again. The rest of the conversation was just rehashing all the comments she made about my body and how it made me feel. She also claimed that I have been making inappropriate jokes about her appearance and work ethic through the years, and this confrontation was a long time coming. She also suggested that I've convinced the guys in the office to take my side by being a flirt and a tease. Did I mention that I'm stupidly shy? My head is swimming, and I think I may be dealing with an actual psycho. I don't know how it's come to this ridiculous level of craziness. All I wanted to do was get on with my effing work in peace and get through this crappy time. But now I have to deal with this BS. Just to answer a few questions I've seen. I've contacted HR with my complaint. I have a lot of old text messages and emails with comments and memes Sarah has sent making fun of my chest size. There you go, get the receipts.
Oh, shoot.
John and other colleagues are fully supporting me as well as my manager. It will take a while for them to get back to me, but I'm confident that things will be sorted and Sarah will be dealt with. My front airbags alone aren't 5 kilograms, which is 114 pounds.
Damn.
My overall weight is 52 kilograms. I mentioned this because my chest seems much larger on my small frame, making clothes that others wear look nice in look completely gaudy and cheap on me. I can't lose any more weight to make a difference on my bust size. I won't get surgery, but I have been working on my body image issues, which my shyness and upbringing did a number on. People's comments don't usually devastate me as they once did, but Sarah obviously tried her best to break me down. Thank you to all for clothing suggestions. I will definitely look into tailoring some tops and have spent some time checking out Bravissimo, which looks great. In hindsight, I should have confronted Sarah more sternly in the past, but I guess I was trying to avoid conflict. Others have suggested I may have allowed her to gaslight me, which may be true. I just want to move on at this point. We do have a second update. Whoa, we've got a second update, people. Wake up, Riley, we've got a second update.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Anything before we get into it?
I believe that whatever you're gifted with is the most beautiful thing, and no matter what other people say.
Agreed.
That's great.
Yep. And hopefully the slut shamer shames her way to another company.
There you go. Update number 2.
She's not even a sleuth, she's just a shamer.
Shamer.
She's an accusatory slut shamer. Wait, accusatory sluter / shamer.
A sleeper.
Basically.
That's what she is.
Banana.
Update number 2. The coworker, Lucy, who keeps in contact with Sarah and told me earlier that Sarah may have reported me to HR, has just phoned to tell me that Sarah has suffered a serious panic attack. Lucy does not want to take sides, but has suggested that I reconsider taking drastic action. Sarah is too unwell to talk to me herself, but has asked I drop my complaint, and she will drop hers, citing the whole thing as a misunderstanding and stress-induced disagreement. I have had panic attacks before in my life, and I seriously felt like I was going to pass away. It's a horrible feeling, and if Sarah has honestly just had one herself, then I don't want to push her too far. Sarah has asked to move teams so we don't directly work with one another, but it doesn't seem that she wants to apologize yet. And just to clarify, to people who assume that I was wearing a bikini top or a tube top during the meeting, I wasn't. It was a short-sleeved plain t-shirt which hugged my front airbags more than my usual baggy tops. I don't like to hold grudges, and I think getting her fired during a time like this may be a crappy thing to do.
No, she should get fired from her actions. She's freaking out because she's realizing that her actions have consequences.
Exactly.
Boo-hoo.
Exactly. I feel she has already punished herself by displaying this messed up behavior to others and losing a lot of respect from coworkers. If we don't ever have to interact with one another, I'm up for that. I have a suspicion that Sarah may have found this post and read it, which I thought I would feel bad about, but I really don't care. And we do have a third update,
Oh
dude.
my gosh.
Let's go.
It better be this woman getting transferred or whatever.
Update number 3. I'm not dropping any of the complaints. Woohoo!
Let's freaking go. F you, Sarah. Sarah doesn't smile. Am I right? Get it?
You're so right. I don't get it.
It's
but
the song Sarah Smiles by
Oh,
Panic
okay,
at the
okay,
Disco.
okay. It,
Sarah
sounded
doesn't
familiar.
smile anymore because she just got told out.
Sure. Dakota
go.
got all his power from that. Sarah, F you, Michelle, and I have spoken. And although it started off promising, she is mentally unhinged and without a conscience. I did not realize how deep her hatred runs. Not only did she mock all of those things that I told her in confidence about the way my family treated me growing up, she accused me of effing every guy from work to get ahead. Oh my God. That is crazy.
That's wild.
Now, I know where some of those fake office rumors about me came from. I've been such a naive idiot and allowed my shyness and aversion to conflict to stop me from fighting people who manipulate and walk all over me. I don't need this misery in my life. If she's reading this, get professional help immediately. I know you desperately fancy John, and as you said, despise the way he looks at me. I know it bothers you that he took my side and has been a great support. Maybe I will go for drinks with him when lockdown ends. If I don't make any new updates, just assume that the right person was reprimanded and faced the consequences of their words and actions. And we have a fourth update from 18 days later.
Yeah, baby.
Opie and John?
Dude, OP and
Really?
John?
I didn't know there was going to be a little love romance in this.
Listen.
Hot take.
What?
Do you think Johnny
Bazanga.
what's this woman's name? Lucy?
Sarah.
Sarah. Sarah doesn't smile. That's right. Do you think Sarah likes John and she knew that John was into OP because of her Bentleys, and now she's like, oh, I'm gonna spread this office rumor so she gets fired?
It
Well,
could
I mean,
be.
yeah.
I just think she's a dirty little snake.
She did
Yeah.
just say, I know you
A
like
dirty
John.
little jealous snake.
And I know you hate how he looks at me.
Oh shoot!
Yeah. And so she's like, well, maybe I will take him out when all this is over.
Yep. This is a movie.
Yeah, I think all of it is it's just all mixed in there. So update number 4, 18 days later. HR meeting call with supervisor went well. The main incident in my original post wasn't recorded, but all 6 colleagues wrote a statement confirming what Sarah had said and how inappropriate it was. I didn't realize, but John had also asked others who work with us if they at any point heard Sarah attack my character or physical appearance in a cruel or improper manner, and if they did, would they be willing to write a statement? Apparently, she has been saying quite a few outrageous things behind my back, and it seems that a lot of the hurtful office gossip about me did originate from her. I submitted a few examples of messages and emails sent by Sarah during work hours, taking jokes about my appearance too far. I also included the messages where I asked her to stop causing attention at work, as I'm extremely uncomfortable with others regarding me in that way. Her claims of my bullying and her calling her flat-chested and ugly at work were dismissed, as she couldn't specify dates or find anyone to corroborate her story or even provide any examples of me ever being hostile or unprofessional.
Boom! Get roasted,
Get
Sarah.
freaking roasted, dude.
You can't just make slop out of thin air.
Exactly. The phone call we had after the video team meeting, where she claims I used threatening language against her, was also disregarded, as no recording was made, and it was her word against mine.
Boom!
Luckily-
Again, get roasted.
Luckily, I don't think they believed her on this point, as I've never displayed anything near the type of aggressive behavior she was accusing me of, and my character references had me down as the quiet sort who gets on with work. While things were being reviewed, Sarah decided to quit. She's still adamant that I bullied and threatened her and felt no choice but to leave the toxic environment that I created.
What?
Whatever, dude.
What even is this?
What a
Lies.
dork.
Whatever. I've been reassured that there was no wrongdoing on my part, except that I should have reported things much sooner when appropriate comments first started. From what I gather, Sarah's general behavior at work has raised concerns for a while, and I wasn't the first to complain about her. Oh wow. Some people were confused as to why I had considered her a friend in the beginning. When I joined the team 3 years ago, it was my first job out of uni, and I was incredibly nervous, but Sarah was the first to ask me questions and offer to hang out. So she was a bit overbearing and rambunctious, but I appreciated her efforts to get to know me and coax me out of my shell. And I would really appreciate it if you listen to full episodes with more stories just like this one. Just go to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Search OK Storytime.
Okay.
And there's a bit more. I'm just gonna jump right into it.
Storytime.
We often did have a good laugh, despite her sometimes making a joke at my expense, but I tried not to take it to heart and occasionally reminded her to wind it in and be more considerate of my feelings. It's only been during the past 8 or so months when she's become especially rude and callous. I still referred to her as a friend of sorts, but I never thought she would take things as far as she did. Edit. I stepped away to talk to John for a while and let him know what a great guy a lot of people think he is. His little smile was adorable. Despite the misery at work I had to go through for a while, everything has turned out pretty amazing. I do love my job now that I can actually get on with it without the office drama. Finding out how my other coworkers feel about me has been incredibly reassuring, and we've now set up a weekly virtual pub night. My outlook has improved massively, and I'm taking steps to manage my anxieties and put aside past negativity. And that's the end of that story.
I bought a car for my niece and it made her brother furious.
She's fast, he's furious.
So I, 50 male, have a niece and a nephew who are both 18 and just graduated. A few years ago, when they were entering high school, I made a deal with them. If they kept a B average their entire time in high school, I would buy them any car of their choosing, within reason, of course. By the way, this comes from user OldManRedditTA, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Keon.
And we're here to give you good advice, Goofly, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so if you would do something different, let us know in the comments. As OP says, we added a clause, a Santa Claus, that they got 1 semester forgiven. So they were able to mess up 1 semester, and I wouldn't hold it against them. I felt like 7 out of 8 semesters with a B average was pretty fair. My niece maintained her grades. She did mess up her sophomore year, but otherwise was right on track. My nephew, on the other hand, pretty much never did right. We were lucky that he even passed every semester. I offered help, tutors, books, and tried to make sure he was okay mentally, whatever he needed. But it turns out he just straight up was not doing his work. He did well on tests, but would never do his actual work, resulting in his grades being low. Last week was when my niece got her car. She chose a 2025 Toyota Camry. My nephew kept asking when he was going to get his. And I told him, hey, buddy, you didn't stick to your end of the agreement, so you're not getting a car. He still got a very nice gift for his graduation. Now he and his mom are angry with me and saying I'm favoring my niece. He's refusing to speak to me or his sister. I don't think I messed up, but I'm starting to worry. And we have some comments here. Comment 1 says, not the a-hole. You made a deal and you choose to F around and find out. Academic struggles are one thing, but being irresponsible is quite another. OP says, yeah, I felt the same. I know school had always been a little harder for him. That's why I was trying to help before just giving up. But when it turned out he was making 90% on some of his tests, but those were the only things he did all year, I sort of lost sympathy. Comment 2 says, not the a-hole. You made the rules very clear. Question, though, has he been tested for ADHD? OP says they've both been tested. Niece has it mild, and nephew does not have it at all. I was the same way in high school, so if that was the case, I would have also been a lot more understanding. Comment 3 says, don't want to say you're the a-hole, but if I was your nephew, I'm definitely holding it against you forever. and I can imagine the everlasting jealousy of his sister now driving this car. He's basically going to be reminded every single day about it too. So maybe I'm going to be one of the few going against the grain, actually. It was a cool concept to motivate them, but not everyone learns the same, and now he's just going to feel worse about it too. Well done, a-hole. Comment 4 says, I get where you're coming from, but at some point, consequences have to mean something. He could have spoken up and told his uncle he was struggling. Judging from the post, I'm pretty sure he would have understood. He clearly did his best to support him and keep him on track. And let's be real, if he still got the car despite not meeting the original agreement, the niece would have had every right to feel resentful. It wouldn't have been fair to her at all. OP says, yep, I told him if he needed help to come to me. And as I said, I offered tutors or anything, and even told him I would give him an extra semester if he would take advantage of any of the help I offered. I attended a parent-principal meeting with him because he was in danger of not graduating. When I found out it was just from him being lazy, I knew the deal was off the table. OP on his nephew's gift. My nephew got $5,000 for his gift.
What?
My niece did not get that. He could use that $5,000 to buy a car right now. You could
OP.
buy an old Honda Civic for that.
OP, can you be my uncle? That's crazy.
Dude,
The fact that he got $5,000 just to graduate, bare
Dude.
minimum, to just pass,
you're fine.
and he's still complaining that I didn't get a car, brother.
So, okay, OP continues. My nephew got $5,000 for his gift. My niece did not get that. He does also have full access to an older car that runs excellent. It's just old and not amazing looking. I thought maybe he would use the money to get it repainted or something, but I'm not sure. He has been tested twice and does not have ADHD or autism. I also had it in school, so I would have completely understood, but also he agreed to the deal. It wasn't like I just sprang this on them. They had agreed, and their mother had as well. Does OP's nephew have a job? OP says yes. He got fired from his only job, though, because my sister-in-law went in to yell at his boss. Where are the twins' father in all this? OP replies, my brother is not involved. Oops, meant to add that in the post. I'm basically their father figure. They call me Papa Unk. LOL. OP responds to a downvoted comment about getting his nephew an older car. OP says, maybe. He does have full access to a car, though. His mom has two and never drives one of them. It's honestly old and raggedy as heck, but it works. Definitely no sharing. And yes, my nephew's grad gift was $5,000. I'd been saving for their graduation since they were babies. And there's an update 3 months later.
I have nothing else to say. We've said our piece. Why are you crying?
Yeah, I think honestly all you can do is just have like a sit down conversation and be like, hey, so this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm holding to our original agreement. I don't like you any less than your sister. It's just that this is now a valuable way for you to really soak up the lesson.
This is a life lesson.
Yeah.
And it'd be really funny just to mess with. I hate messing with them, but like, hey, here's a reset button. Click it. It just says, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Would you go back in time and do all your homework and do all of this? And he says, yeah, I would totally do that. That's great. That's a life lesson. Now do that from now on.
Yes, life lesson. We have an update 3 months later. Let's see what they say. So first, I sat down with my nephew and his mom to talk it through. I explained that this was the deal he agreed to before starting high school and that he has known for years he was not getting the car. Some comments say I led him on, which was not the case. He had been aware of not getting the car for years and that his sister followed through. He did not. Well, all of that to no avail. He was still sulking and pretty angry. His mom felt I ruined his summer because he couldn't drive himself around, and because he refuses to speak to his sister, she won't drive him either. I then discovered that my niece was being punished at home because she would not let nephew drive or ride in her car. I told him I was not forcing her to, and it pretty much turned into a fight between me and sister-in-law. Also, to address a few comments I got, my nephew still got a very nice grad gift from me, and he does not have any learning disabilities, like since comments suggested. And also, he has been aware he was not getting a car for around 3 years at this point. And by the way, you can listen to almost 3 months worth of stories like these in full episodes that you can listen to on your favorite podcast platform, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and you can listen to them all.
Again,
Yeah,
everything
this
everyone's
is
saying in the
ridiculous.
comments, I mean, we've said it. This nephew of yours is just an entitled brat. He's a mama's boy. You know, you are the father figure, and you are showing a valuable life lesson. I would talk to your sister-in-law like, hey, you know, if he, you know, we're giving participation trophies out now. Like, is that what we're doing? You know, we don't.
Yeah. And it's like,
Come
this
on.
is not a surprise. The agreement was made. We've known for years.
She was there.
This was not going to happen.
Sister-in-law was there with the agreement and said, yeah, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it, Sonny? Just got to keep your grades up, or at least try. He's like,
And again, it's like he could have. He was smart enough to pass. He could have just done the work, but he did not.
he just wasn't smart enough to try.
Dude, there was a guy in. I went to school with a guy like this. Literally asleep in class. Like, did not care, didn't do his homework, didn't really care for any work. Tests came around, and he'd always pass the tests.
That was me, honestly.
And he had like D's. Because he did not get any of his grades up.
So that wasn't me.
Because he was like, I'm passing, it doesn't matter.
I just didn't go to school.
But he was smart.
I did play a lot of hooky. Go to school, kids. But I played a lot of hooky. But I was just doing all my homework, all my tests.
Yeah.
I was passing with flying colors.
As for my niece, she's been nothing but grateful. It was planned for her and her brother to move in with me, but only she has. I have not heard from or seen my sister-in-law or nephew in about a month. They have also both blocked and cut off my niece, which has been hard for her. Me and my wife are working on getting her into therapy, but otherwise she is doing fine, and we love having her. So things are still hard, but we are all working through it, and there are some comments. Why were they planning on moving in with you? OP says they both planned to move in with me when they graduated, purely because my house is bigger, and they wanted a change of environment. Comment 2 says, what else are you doing for her? It's starting to feel like you can provide them a lifestyle their parents can't, and she's taking advantage, and her brother is jealous and bitter he's not benefiting. I don't blame you for sticking to the agreement with nephew as long as it was clearly laid out from the beginning, and for him to treat you this way after you still got him a nice grad gift is just spoiled kid behavior. Oh, and shame on your sister for not sticking to any principles or standards. OP says, my nephew is still welcome to live here if he apologizes. I was always going to pay for both of their colleges or wedding, whichever they chose. Both of them have known this their whole life. I'm paying for niece's college, and I still plan to pay for nephew's wedding. My sister-in-law isn't super well off, but by no means is she struggling. She could easily afford a car for him. She's just too cheap to do so. Niece also is not paying to live here. Yep, it's been clear since day one, which is why I don't understand why they are behaving this way. OP on having his niece's car in his name. OP says, I do have a say in it, as the car is in my name. Also, she's an adult, so her mom has no say in what she does, period. And neither do I, honestly. Yeah, she wanted it in my name because she was worried her mom might try to actually take it. And at the time, it was still a few months before they were supposed to come live with me. Now that she lives with me, we plan on switching it over. Still a gift, just protecting her. Comment 3 says, this whole thing perfectly shows how being right can still blow up your family. You didn't break any promise. You actually stuck to the deal exactly as stated, but you completely underestimated how pride, shame, and family dynamics work. Your nephew didn't just lose a car, he lost face, and that humiliation got redirected at everyone else. Now your sister-in-law is furious, your nephew's cut off his own sister, and your niece, the one who did everything right, is paying the emotional price for your rigid fairness. You didn't create a lesson about accountability, you created a hierarchy. One winner, one loser.
No!
I disagree. I cannot disagree more with this.
Who is this? No. Everyone is supposed to be winners.
He also won. He got
won
$5,000, and he was going to have his college or his wedding paid for, and he was going to have a place to live for free.
It's his pride and his arrogance and his selfishness and his bratty behavior that got him into this debacle.
Twice the pride.
Double the fall.
That kind of setup always ends ugly in families because people don't separate logic from feelings. What's genuinely concerning, though, is that you don't seem to realize the extent of the damage you've caused. You're describing a complete family breakdown like it's an unfortunate side effect, when in reality, it's the direct consequence of how you handled this.
Nope.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's a direct consequence of how sister-in-law raised her son, and clearly, even after discussion, refused to see, okay, this is fair.
We're taking generosity.
There are no real losers here.
This commentator is taking generosity and like fairness and actually providing a deal with somebody as like, no, you're an a-hole. You should have never done that.
Yeah.
You're a piece of crap.
It's weird. It's being like, yeah, OP, you should have just bowed out to your difficult family and not held to any principles or agreed upon terms. Because you should have known that.
Life lesson, just don't give anyone anything. Just give them a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
This commenter continues, and honestly, it's weird that you made a long-term deal with minors about something this big without really including their mother in the process. That's not your call to make alone. It blurs the line between cool uncle and overstepping adult, and it probably added to the resentment your sister-in-law feels now. You're not evil, but you overstepped, underestimated the emotional fallout, and now act like the outcome was inevitable. Sometimes fairness without empathy and without boundaries just looks like cruelty wearing a suit. OP replies, to set this guy straight, their mother was involved the entire time. I asked her before I ever brought it up to them. Also, it was not one winner and one loser. They both could have won or lost. And lastly, I make a vast majority or all big decisions in their lives. For much of their lives, I was raising them without sister-in-law. And even up to right before this, sister-in-law would consult me on anything regarding them. Or the kids would ask me themselves. So yeah, I understand I did not overstep in any way, and that is the end of that story.
Good for you, OP. That commenter did not make you think of anything else. You knew it was right. You know how this is handled. You know everything that your nephew's doing is completely outlandish. Good for you, OP. You're a great uncle. You tried to be a great parent to, or a father figure to both of them, and one of them's just an entitled brat.
My wife demands a house I co-owned with my ex, and I refused.
That's me and my ex's house.
When my ex and I, 37 male, divorced, I moved out and she lived in our house until she found her own place. I bought the house 3 years before we got married, and her name was added to the deed when we were married. By the way, this comes from Strain Week 2575, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, at the time of our divorce, I was 9 years into the 15-year mortgage. Oof. When she found her own place, we decided to keep the house in both of our names and rent it out because neither of us wanted to sell it. For the past 6 years, we have rented out the house and basically broke even. She manages the property more than I do, so she kept the meager profits. Now that the house is paid off, we are actually going to start turning actual profit. We agreed to a 60-40 split of the profits, with her keeping 60 because she's the one that deals with the tenants. My wife, 31 female, who I married last year, really wants me to sell this house. At first, she wasn't that insistent, but lately she has become so. She said there's no reason for me to co-own a house with my ex-wife. Well, OP's given about a paragraph of reasons.
It seems like you've got some pretty understandable, logical reasons.
Seeing as you have a 15-year mortgage, and you're making profit from it.
And is this your now wife?
This is now wife is saying they don't want.
So now wife, I need you to realize that
You're
you
my
are
now
the now wife, and she was the ex-wife. So you don't have to really be like, oh, you own a property with your ex-wife. It's like, yeah, but like that's paper. That's just on paper. You're my wife.
I don't know, like
my
I
wife
understand
in
why
life.
she's uncomfortable, but also you have to understand why I'm legally kind of bound to this.
Why am I in this position?
Yeah.
I've told you. And it's not because
Law.
I secretly like my ex-wife more than you.
She also says that now that it is paid off, we could do a cash sale and make a lot of money. Neither my ex nor I want to sell, and it's our house, so I don't really see the point of these conversations. Even if I agreed with her, my ex wouldn't agree, and it would be an unnecessary fight. Might have to get a lawyer. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Last night, my wife asked me if I intended to co-own this house with my ex forever. I told her truthfully that we had many times discussed eventually giving it to our son, 12 male, once he reaches the appropriate life stage. Wait, you and your ex share a son?
Yeah, that's
and your
that's
new
extra
wife,
crazy.
Your new wife is upset that you share the deed to a house?
Bro,
Is she mad about the kid too?
You literally
No.
share a human being.
Like, how dare you share a son with
This
her?
is ridiculous.
She was upset by this answer. She asked if I intended to give a house to my stepkids or any future kids we might have. I told her this is an apples and oranges situation. The house isn't fully mine. No penny has ever gone from our shared household into that house. It's more my ex's than mine at this point, really. Not legally. Legally, it's 50-50, but she spends more time on it. Also, this isn't a nice house. Not like the one my wife and I bought after our wedding. The house I co-own with my ex is a small 2-bedroom house. It's not like he's going to get a mansion. All the same, she's very upset. She said she feels like the house is a source of strife in our relationship and she wants it gone. You're a source of strife in your relationship.
You're the only one strifing.
Stop strifing. I told her I love her, but the answer is no. She's been cold to me all morning as a result. Am I the a-hole? And there are some relevant comments and an update, but what do you think, Dakota?
I think
Yeah.
you should build yourself a little doghouse.
Yeah.
And go sleep in it, OP, because that's where you're at.
You're
in the doghouse.
doghouse.
You're in the
But
doghouse. So if you tell your wife you're gonna put me in the doghouse, that's where I'm gonna sleep.
relevant comments. Comment 1 says, it's not about the house. OP says, yeah, I know. But all the same, is it reasonable to demand I get rid of something valuable as a sort of weird loyalty ritual? Comment 2, not the a-hole. She's coming off as greedy and a bit jealous here, acting like it's weird that you essentially co-own a business investment with your ex, whom is also the mother of your son. It's not like you're playing house with her. Add to the fact that she seems more focused on getting the money for herself and her kids. How did you get this far into the marriage without your plans for the house coming up? Were you always clear about them, or... NOP says it's come up many times, but she has gotten more insistent than she was before. Previously, it was her preference I sell it. Now it's almost a demand. Comment 3 says she sounds very firm in her opinion. Unfortunately, she does not have a say. It is your property that will benefit your son, and most of all, does not impact her. I would ask your wife why all of a sudden her set boundary. Furthermore, where is she intending to go with your money? Don't cave or give in. She's rude, immature, and manipulative with treatment of you. OP says she thinks we could put the money in our retirement plans and the children's college fund. Comment 3 says, is she not able to put equal amount into her half of the retirement plan? Also, equal amount into her existing kids, your stepkids, with her ex into their college funds. Her kids with her ex isn't your burden unless you sign papers to legally adopt them. OP says, I'm actually in the process of adopting them. It's just difficult because we don't know where her ex lives, so that complicates everything. Interesting. Comment 4 says, why do you need to pay for your stepkid's college fund? Why isn't she and the child's father doing that? That should have no issue with you. OP says, Biodad flew the coop.
Yeah, I mean, so did he? I'm sorry. Did her ex-husband steal the children and run away?
No.
They don't know. Where are the kids?
I think
Are the kids with you? Kids
I
are with
think
you.
the kids are with them because OP's about to adopt them, but the bio dad is kind of
Okay.
MIA.
I got really confused for a
Yeah.
second. That makes more sense.
Comment 5 says, not the a-hole. I fully understand your current spouse, yet I do not think she grasps the situation fully since she cannot be in your shoes. If you and your ex-wife are on good terms, relatively speaking, consider selling your share to her if she's open to it, or buy her share to fully owning it again. And please do not add your wife's name to any future properties. Love triumphs all, but money, like a rotten one, can spoil a fresh basket of fruit. OP says my wife's name is on our current home, as it should be. Yeah, I disagree with that commenter. I think that if you don't trust your partner, like your literal wife, to co-own then I don't know if you should be in that relationship. Regarding my ex buying me out, I don't think that's fair to her.
so she should shoulder the financial burden of something for the benefit of our shared child. Comment 6 says, you've been married for a year. Who owns your current home when you married? You should consult a financial counselor right now to get a reasonable plan, because as things stand, you could be headed for a bigger financial mess with your second wife. OP says, we bought it together right after the wedding. Comment 6 says, did she contribute a significant amount to the down payment? Is she employed now? OP says, yes, a quarter of the down payment came from her. We are in the same earning bracket. She makes almost as much as I do. Since she has 2 kids and an irresponsible ex, she wasn't able to save as much as me before we married, but we both contribute more or less equally to our current shared household. Comment 7 says, do you have a prenup that excludes the property from being claimed as community property by wife 2? OP says, in my state, property owned before a marriage is not considered community property unless the spouse contributes to the property, mortgage payments, repairs, etc. Since my ex has been managing the property, she's been the one paying the mortgage from the rental proceeds and handling repairs and such. So there's no reality where my wife could claim a stake in this property. OP on the college funds for all children involved. OP says, yes, my son has a college fund. We also have set up funds for my stepkids. My stepson is 7 and my stepdaughter is 5. They're very smart kids. Does OP's current wife get along with his son? My wife gets along with my son, but she does not like my ex. No kidding.
Yeah, I would say that's a safe assumption.
Yeah. They almost never interact, so it usually doesn't matter, but yeah, there's real contempt there. She's always known about the house and never liked it, but lately it bothers her more than before. I wonder why.
And I wonder why she's bothered.
Comment says, it does matter if she's verbalizing the contempt to your son. Why is she contemptuous? Why doesn't it bother you that your wife feels comfortable denigrating someone you were on such good terms with until she came on the scene? OP says, no, she doesn't say anything in front of my son. Basically, my wife thinks my ex-wife gave up on life and is a lazy, unfeminine slob.
Well, okay.
That's icky.
That's weird. Also, I was going to say, she's not saying this in front of their son.
No, but
She
still
was-
icky that she's saying that at all.
Yeah, but that's...
She mostly wears sweatpants and never puts on makeup. She doesn't push herself to relearn how to do things she did before her accident. It was an accident?
She was...
You're about to learn about it.
Oh, okay. She no longer has professional ambitions. I think those things are none of our business, but my wife is more or less disgusted by my ex. She doesn't usually say anything and only ever does in private. OP on the divorce. OP says, my ex was in an accident that limited her mobility and got rid of her libido. Our spiceless marriage made me resentful of her and made her paranoid that I was stepping out on her, which made me even more resentful because I was both not getting any and dealing with accusations of getting what I wasn't getting. Also, on top of all that, my previously active wife now couldn't do most of the fun activities we used to share. Finally, she said, if we stayed married, eventually we'll hate each other. Let's
Yeah,
get divorced.
that's
Well, at
really
least we
sad.
still like each other.
That's
That
sad.
is really devastating for her to make that really tragic or just like heartbreaking decision to end a marriage because she's had this life-changing accident where she can no longer be active or, has the same drive that you do or she did. And then to have your new wife call her disgusting slob.
I think because you guys, if she's aware of all of this, and it's like you guys got a divorce because of something sort of that happened outside of you
Either of your
guys,
control.
she might be like, oh, well, maybe you're like if her libido came back, I don't know. It feels like because this accident was outside of your control, maybe she feels like
The wife.
she's a second option
Sure.
that was born from just exterior circumstances, and she
I think
puts a
that's
lot of that
probably
on your
it.
current and your ex-wife.
I think that she is incredibly jealous of OP's wife, and that's coming out in just this these nasty comments.
Yeah.
But there's more. Let's get divorced while we still like each other. You'll be free, and all I ask in return is that you look out for me. So that's what we did. I got to move on and marry someone I'm compatible with. Are we compatible with her though? And I'll always make sure she and our son are happy and healthy. It was her idea to get divorced because her paranoia about me potentially cheating on her was driving us both crazy. And there is an update 5 days later. Well, I decided to make some changes to the house situation, but my wife didn't like them. My ex and I are filing a new deed where we each gifted our son a portion of our equity that falls just under the annual gift tax exemption. If we do this every year, by the time our son is 18, the house will be fully or almost fully his. No tax penalty. To say my wife was pissed would be an understatement. I'm going to use my share of the rental proceeds split 4 ways to buff up the college savings for each kid's. Mine, hers, and the baby we're trying for. My wife is unhappy with all of this. I told her the house is an asset from my previous marriage, and so it goes to the benefit of my son from that marriage. Any assets she had with her ex would be rightfully my stepkids if such assets existed. By the way, full episodes, stories just like this exist. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a teeny little bit left to this story. Do you have any final thoughts?
I think you guys really I saw a comment of someone being like, OP thinks this is a healthy relationship. I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree, dude. Like,
Yeah.
literally, as long as your previous life exists, your current wife is going to hold
trying
it
to
against you.
She's literally trying to erase that entire previous life. By making, she's trying to get you to also hate your ex-wife, even though you ended amicably. She's trying to get rid of that tie. She's trying to convince you to give the money that rightfully belongs to your son to her kids. Not good. But there is a little bit left. I basically said we need to get past this because if we're going to bring a baby into this world, we can't be fighting about such a non-issue. She said she would accept it and move on, but she needed some time to do so. Basically, that's the resolution. Clarification, a lot of you are confused about what the initial understanding concerning the house was. My ex and I invested money in this house. Our understanding was always that the house would be our son's once he became an adult, not that any income made off of it before that would be his. We always intended to split profits once the house became income generating, which it only recently has. And that's the end of the story. So good luck, OP. Keep an eye out on your wife, because if she doesn't change her tune, the song you guys are playing is not going to sound very nice.
My mother-in-law throws a tantrum over babysitting, and I've had enough.
Well, obviously she can't babysit because she's a baby.
I have been fighting a boundary war with my mother-in-law since my child was born. Before my daughter was born, my mother-in-law offered to quit her job and be our full-time daycare. The pay she wanted was not something we could afford, and so we expressed that it wouldn't work for us. She responded that it was not about the pay, but that she wanted to spend time with our daughter. By the way, this comes from CDemand8655, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, she was not in a financial place to be able to quit working, however. The compromise was that she would babysit 1 day a week in our home. We offered to pay for the day, but she didn't want to be paid. When the baby came, I took my 12 weeks of maternity leave. It was magical, exhausting, and really such an honor, as we had to do fertility treatments to have our daughter. So every moment feels extra special. I had some struggles and was diagnosed with postpartum OCD. This was found very quickly, and I was able to get on medication that helps me live a completely normal existence. Once my maternity time was up, the baby went to daycare Monday through Thursday, and on Friday was cared for in our home by my in-laws. Please note, the baby can go to daycare on Fridays, but does not, so they have that time to spend with their grandchild. I am a work-from-home employee. As all work-from-home employees know, this means that everyone you are related to thinks you have endless free time and can work whenever you want.
Dude, honestly, I just started kind of working from home and it's already true.
After all, there is no boss to yell at you if you're late, right? Well, my in-law took this to mean they could show up whenever, despite me giving them a specific time. They are consistently 30 minutes to 1 hour late, then want to ask questions and chat when they get here. They also quickly decided they needed to do housework while in my home. I originally asked that they not do that and just focus on babysitting. I expressed that cleaning is an activity I enjoy and like to do on the weekend. Specifically, I stated that I like to do my own laundry. They continued to do housework even after this request, stating it was not trouble at all. They make lots of noise vacuuming, loud music, and banging of pots and pans. My mother-in-law loves to cook huge meals using every dish in the kitchen as a favor to us. One day, I walked down to grab my lunch and found my father-in-law folding my laundry, including my underwear, while my mother-in-law was cooking and the baby, walking at this point, was playing on her own. While she was still being supervised, I was very annoyed that my boundaries were not being listened to and that they were not focusing on the child they were meant to be watching. When my husband got home, I shared my continued woes with him and expressed that I did not think this arrangement was working. By this point, I was seeing a psychologist at least weekly and was not sleeping from the stress of this scenario. He offered to use his leftover paternity leave to stay home on Fridays while they were there to train his parents. I agreed that if he could get them to act in an acceptable form so I could get work done, that it was worth a try. I think family is very important, and it is never my wish to stand in the way of it. I just need to be able to get work done. That solution did seem to help for a while, but as his paternity leave started to dwindle, so did my mental state. While things had improved, boundaries were still being pushed, and I still did not feel comfortable being able to work in the house. Things were quite heated between my husband and me during that time. He argued that I wasn't seeing the value in family time and that it was saving us money, $40 a week. I argued that he wasn't valuing my mental health. We went round and round in circles, both of us unable to see the other's view. Finally, with the help of my therapist, I decided that I needed to figure out what I could control in the situation. I could control where I worked, so I found a co-working space in town that cost $100 a month. Please note that our savings from having in-laws watch our child is $160 a month. My husband and I split daycare cost, meaning my share of that would be $80 per month. So essentially, I am personally paying an extra $20 a month to leave my comfortable home office, drive across town. Not ideal, but other than this situation, my husband and I get along perfectly well. I figured $20 is a fair price to pay to keep the peace in my marriage. This arrangement has worked for a while. For the most part, I can work from my office with no trouble. I'm gone by the time they get here and return at the end of my work day. I'd still be slightly annoyed when I would come home to my home rearranged or food I had planned to make already cooked a different way, but I would be keeping the peace, and that was worth it. However, I only get so many hours of private office space and only have 2 screens instead of the 3 I have at home. Usually I can work with this, but I've been on a new project that requires both of those things. Today, I received a text from my mother-in-law asking if she should come over at the normally scheduled time, noting that she never makes it by that time. I texted her back to let her know it wouldn't work out for her to babysit tomorrow, after checking with my husband to confirm that was okay. Please note, I have done this before when one of us had a doctor's appointment or a day off on a Friday. My therapist has me working on not explaining my actions, so I kept it vague. It doesn't work without a specific explanation. She proceeded to call me. I answered. We covered a few major points during this call. I expressed that it is hard for me to focus on work with my daughter home, and that I have a lot to get done this week. She cannot take my daughter elsewhere to babysit her. While we often drop her off at their house and don't have an issue with her being watched somewhere safe, we don't like her out on the road with other people, because really, why does she need to be? Their home is much farther away than daycare, so driving her there isn't a reasonable solution. My husband will be gone this weekend, and I have other plans. My plans were near her home, so I said if it worked out, we would stop over, or if it didn't, we could all go grab dinner together next week. We passed recipes back and forth, which is something we do to bond with each other as we both love food. I felt this was good as it seemed to get us both in good spirits. I was happy that I was able to find a way to communicate my need for a calm work environment and figure out how to still have family time. Again, what I felt was a good compromise. 30 minutes later, I got a text from my husband saying his mom called devastated. In her words, she had been banned from watching our daughter ever again and that she wasn't allowed to drive her. She also said that I stated I was too busy to see her over the next week. She expressed to him that I was taking her light, my daughter, away. I quite frankly lost my mind. I told my husband that his mother needs to learn to respect boundaries and that all of this was getting out of hand. I did not say any of these things to her, and this is basically a tantrum because she did not get her way. But even if I had, why would she try to get him and me to get in a disagreement over it? His mother had requested a family meeting to discuss the scenario, and there is a strong possibility that I will not be able to remain calm any longer. So before this meeting, I need to ask, am I the a-hole? And we have update and answers to questions. But what do you think?
I mean, I don't think you're the a-hole. I mean, I think like if you have these boundaries, I mean, because we hear so many stories. Like, I'm not a mom, okay, but we hear a lot of stories about new parents where the mother-in-law is like crashing and they're just taking over and crossing boundaries and stuff. And I think that's perfectly normal to not be okay with that.
Yeah.
You just had a baby. This is a new time, new life for you. You're gonna need to adjust and have your own ways.
Yeah, I would agree. I could understand wanting your laundry not to get touched.
Totally. You got a system for that.
Yeah, I like my system.
Exactly.
Update and answers to questions. The family meeting. I got a lot of comments saying that we should not have a family meeting. But I believe there is some relevant history here. My husband and his family have had this tradition of family meetings since he was a small child. They allow anyone to bring up their thoughts uninterrupted and then allow everyone's voice to be heard. My husband is an only child, and they do not have any nearby relatives. We are their health care proxy, and these meetings have been used to discuss their health. They are not something I would wish to end because they are actually quite a healthy form of communication. They have, in fact, helped with boundary setting in other areas of the relationship. And then we have some extenuating circumstance. Another note I got a lot was that we needed to cut off contact, and that my husband should support me more on his parents not needing so much time. I think it is helpful to know that his father has a deteriorating disease. While he is doing well and it does not impact his ability to watch our daughter at this point, it does mean time is now limited. This has been especially hard on my husband, who feels he is slowly losing his hero and mentor. It creates a different dynamic for why he puts emphasis on wanting our daughter to spend time with her grandparents. Multidimensional characters. I fear that there has been some stereotyping of each of us, which is understandable, as a decade of dynamics cannot be represented in a single post. So to ensure I am not misrepresenting anyone, I want to give some more context. Mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is not an evil House of Mouse character. While she does push boundaries more than she should, she is not mean-spirited. She is honestly someone I look up to in many aspects of life. She is a girl boss who got into leadership in a male-heavy career path and helped others to do so. I often attribute her pushiness to that. She also has a big heart and took in many of my husband's friends who had poor home lives. She collected donations for the homeless, not for praise, but because she thinks it is the right thing to do. She is also a woman whose partner and best friend of multiple decades is slowly slipping away from his disease. It is also important to note that my husband and I are high school sweethearts. She did quite literally watch me grow up. She is fond of me, and I am fond of her. This is not the typical mother-in-law is jealous of the wife scenario. When she introduced me to people, I am her daughter, not her daughter-in-law. My husband is also a more dimensional character than I was able to capture in the original post. While we have our things, as everyone does, he truly is my very best friend. He's chased an ice cream truck for blocks for me, hand-carved me a ring out of wood, and watches my game shows with me, even though he hates them.
Oh my gosh.
If that isn't love, what is?
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet. It's also important to note that he does care about my mental health and is not the toxic macho male stereotype some have assumed. He brings me chocolate on my bad days, talks through my thoughts with me, and even offered to go to therapy sessions and pay for them. The dynamic with his family just often puts him between a rock and a hard spot. Some in the comment section seem to believe that he never stands up to his mother. That is not accurate. In fact, the reason they often communicate through me is that they are a bit too harsh with each other. They both prefer to talk to me. I, too, am not quite the doormat this seems to have made me out to be. In many facets of these relationships, I do make strong boundaries. For example, holidays. I set the boundary that we, husband, daughter, and I, are to have time for just our nuclear family. Everyone knows I won't budge on this, and accepts it, begrudgingly, of course. While I am capable of this, it does become difficult when hubby and I are not on the same page, which is why this scenario has occurred. I will also say that while I can set boundaries, their family dynamic is very different from mine. My family accepts softer boundaries. I prefer to do my own laundry. Boundary exception, action stopped. They require a hard boundary. You doing my laundry is not acceptable to me. Despite being together for an extended period of time, I still struggle with the hard boundary creation, as this isn't something I was raised around. Those sounded like the same exact boundaries settings.
Yeah.
You just phrased them differently.
You're just trying to avoid plagiarism.
Yeah. You're trying to avoid your own plagiarism.
Yeah.
These still feel like I'm being disrespectful. This is an area I need to improve on without a doubt. I fully understand that this element is not fair to me, which is why I put my foot down about this week. However, in-laws are not aware of the reason I got my office. They do understand that I have a hard time working while they're here, but they don't understand the lengths I've gone to or my mental health struggles. In this way, I may very well be the a-hole. I've been doing soft boundaries and shifting things, doing all the laundry during the week so there isn't any for them to do, instead of being more direct and allowing them to understand the full picture of the distress this has caused me. I'm going to interject one thing.
Go for it.
I don't think that avoiding the conversation and doing the laundry so they don't have any to do is setting a soft boundary. I think that's just continually avoiding it.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm doing all the laundry earlier in the week, so there's just none that they can do, and that's my soft boundary.
Yeah.
That's just avoidance.
Yeah, because setting a boundary is like telling it to them, being like, no,
Yeah.
this is my schedule, don't do it. But I mean, I guess you could look at it as it's like, oh, like we've set this boundary, this is what I'm gonna do to just kind of help enforce it.
Yeah.
I guess, but I definitely understand how it's avoided.
Yeah, it feels more like these soft boundaries versus hard boundaries is just like, I'm not gonna talk about them because it makes me uncomfortable, versus, oh my god, I have to actually set the boundary. Like,
Yeah.
just tell them, stop doing my laundry. While I'm still not happy that she got off the phone with me and called my husband, I don't think it was quite as calculated as some of you are interpreting. I genuinely do think she jumped to the dramatics of what our phone call was about, not necessarily an outright lie. More of an extreme misunderstanding. Please note my husband did not automatically believe her and fully listen to my side. He also backed me up that she would not be babysitting this week before we even got the chance to talk. They did talk about other things on the call, such as upcoming appointments and another argument that they are in that I'm staying out of. You'll be happy to know that that was a hard boundary to both of them. This argument has nothing to do with me, and I will not be involved. This is not an option for me with the situation regarding my daughter, as I will absolutely be involved and invested in those conversations. By the way, you guys should absolutely be invested in more episodes of stories just like this. So go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts from. Search up OK Storytime. We have just a little bit left. Yeah, I'm really not sure.
I don't really know either.
I'm just kind of like, girl, set the hard boundary.
Yeah, I think you gotta. Yeah, I guess thinking back to like what I was saying earlier, like
Yeah.
I feel like that I guess wouldn't be a way to enforce the boundary, like doing it ahead of time.
It is, but then it's just negating the need for the boundary.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it is. Like I think to enforce the boundary, you would have to be like, sorry, you need to leave.
Right.
Like
There's
sorry.
like a consequence for breaking the boundary. Or
Yeah, exactly.
something.
Like they come over to do your laundry or something or whatever else they're
Right.
doing. And you're just like, sorry, can you guys go?
Yeah.
This is not the time. This is, we
Yeah.
talked about it. This is not the time.
We're
Come
gonna
back
stop
later.
doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which I know is a little bit harder because you're watching the kid. But
Totally.
it's like, stop doing this. Go play with the kid that
Yeah.
you're here to babysit.
Yeah. And it's stressful because it's like you could like be, it's stressful because that can cause conflict and that's like the reason you would want to avoid it. But you just have to just say it matter of factly. Don't bring anger into the situation.
No, a matter of fact boundary, straightforward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I have no desire to go no contact with my in-laws. While this situation has been incredibly stressful, I do believe they are good people who mean well. I do think I have learned I need to stick up for myself a bit more. I also think my husband and I need to work on being a united front where she is involved. He agrees and we are working on that. The family meeting will happen. As I previously stated, I do believe it is a good tradition that will only grow more beneficial over time. I plan to put it all out there so they have the clear picture. And that is the end of that story. Yeah,
Okay.
do that. Put it all out
Yeah.
there. Tell them.
Exactly. I also agree that being a united front in that sense is a good idea, especially since it's his mom.
Yeah,
Like, you'll
and he's on
definitely-
your side about it.
Yeah. So, all you need to do is have him stand up with you.
Yeah.
He probably has more power in that situation.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you've handled it well. I think you're on the right track. You know what you need to do.
Yeah.
My friend tried to ruin my trip, but I stood my ground.
Good for you.
I, 26 female, have traveled all over the USA. I work remotely, making around $90,000 a year, and for the past 5 years, I've been able to travel cross-country and see a lot of amazing towns, landscapes, and people. I've been into nature and being outside for as long as I can remember. By the way, this comes from user GothicPrincess99, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota,
I'm Carly.
and we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we do, so tell us what you would do in the comments. And OP says, as you can imagine, I've done a lot of hiking. At least once a year, I'll travel back home to see my family and friends, and right now I'm in my hometown for the holiday season. I'll be heading back down to the Grand Canyon as soon as it has my absolute favorite hiking trail open. The problem came at my family's Thanksgiving last week when my best friend Naomi, 26 female, told my entire family and hers that I'll be taking her with me to the Grand Canyon as she wants to hike the trail with me. Now, I love Naomi with all my heart, but she's never even brought this up with me in the past, let alone talk to me about taking her halfway across the country. Usually we would plan trips around my home state because she has a husband, Mark, 31 male, and 2 kids, 4 and 3 female male. And she could never be so far apart from them before. So this is a huge shock to everyone, including me. I mean, I wouldn't mind, except that the trail I have in mind is the Rim to Rim Trail. For anyone who doesn't know, it's an extremely long and difficult trail. I've done it before and I absolutely loved it. But I also know how tough it can be. Naomi is more on the heavy side and she refuses to drink just water. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be accurate in my description. So I pull her aside and I ask her what that was. I won't lie, I was pretty caught off guard and a little ticked off, so I snapped a bit when I said that. She told me, "Oh, come on. It'll be fun." I asked her, "What did you think was going to happen? That you just tell everyone and pressure me into saying yes?" She said, "Well, I don't see what the big deal is. It's there and back. Plus, I've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon." I asked her if she even thought to ask me beforehand, and she got upset. She started going on about how it's never been a problem in the past, and why do I suddenly have a problem with it now? She yelled that last part, so now we have an audience at this point. I was heated and lost my cool a bit and shouted back, "You don't know the first thing about hiking, and you didn't even have the thought to ask. What are you going to do when you're out there drinking Dr. Pepper in 100-degree weather on a day-long hike? You have no idea what hike I'm doing, and you haven't even considered that I don't want to make the drive down there just to bring you back after I pull you along with me on the hike. So no, you can't come with me. And if you want to go so bad, then take your kids and stand at the railing and make a day of it. But don't ruin my travel plans because you have to act on every impulsive thought you have. And I was paraphrasing there, but that's just an example of some things I said. She stormed out, and Mark grabbed the kids and followed. I felt horrible the second that all came out, but this is not the first time she's done this to me. The first time was my first visit home after leaving, and I told her I couldn't, but we could plan something in the future. Hence, the few trips closer to home. She ambushes me all the time with smaller things, like inviting me to a group dinner and telling everyone there that I'm buying, just as one example. She's been doing it since we met in uni at age 18.
That's
What?
crazy.
That is, hey,
I'd be like, ha ha ha, funny joke. I'm actually not buying, guys.
yeah,
Like,
no, I
What?
don't know how that came up, but she's incorrect. Sorry, everybody. Dinner's not just on me because somebody said so.
Make her look stupid.
Yeah, and there's a way for both of you to have had that conversation without it exploding, but, you know, she was the one, she took it personally that she was literally like, it's never been a problem before, but instead you could just go, oh, well, I truly just didn't think it was a problem, and if it is, then that's
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to impose, and blah, blah, blah.
Getting too heated.
But she's a selfish little princess and
Little crazy.
doesn't like being told no when she ambushes people. She likes being told yes. So I went to her house the next day and apologized for what I said, and she slammed the door in my face. As I was leaving, her husband pulled into the driveway and told me that I embarrassed her in front of everyone and said I needed to apologize. I told him I just did, and she shut the door on me. He told me I should invite her to the trip then. I stopped, turned around to my car, and went home. She texted me a couple of times, but I haven't read them, and I'm wondering if that was a manipulation tactic. I'm starting to question our whole friendship, and I want to know if I'm the a-hole for losing my cool and telling her she's not coming with me. Should I try apologizing again? If she had talked to me about it, I would have planned for an easier hike and a short trip, but I have plans to stay out west for a while before heading back to the East Coast. If I bring her along, I'd have to adjust the next 6 months that I have planned. Should I just bring her along to salvage the friendship? Please be completely honest because I have no idea what to do right now. And there is an update. I read her texts, and it was all just guilt tripping. When she got no response, she came over and asked me out to coffee. I said sure because I wanted to know what she had to say, honestly. We went and she just unloaded a lot. I'm going to give the condensed version because we were at that cafe for like 3 hours. Basically, she is cheating on Mark.
That is not where I thought that was going to go in the slightest.
0% what I thought was happening.
Okay.
Well, Mark's going to be finding out about this.
Yikes.
Sorry. She and her neighbor have been having an affair for almost 3 years. She sprung the trip on me because I wanted to get away from everything for a few days to think. She told me that Mark has been neglecting her, that all he talks about is work or their kids. He never initiates anymore, and she doesn't feel attractive around him anymore. I asked her what she wanted out of this conversation, blunt honesty or just for me to listen. She asked for blunt honesty, so I told her exactly what I thought about it. I'll sum it up with bullet points. If you can't have an honest conversation with your partner and be vulnerable about how you feel with them, then you need to not be with that person. If you haven't told him how you feel disconnected from him, then he can't fix the problem. All he talks about is work or the kids because those are the only topics of conversation that are new to the two of you. Being together for 8 years, you kind of know everything there is to know about someone. If you've gone 3 years without giving so much as a thank you to your partner, then I'm not surprised he stopped initiating. I can no longer be friends with her, and I gave her 24 hours to tell her husband, or I will. If your own life partner cannot trust you, then I can't either, and if you're so willing to betray him so blatantly, then I don't want to stick around to see what you do to me. You knew what you signed up for when you got married and started a family. There's going to be rough patches and hardships, and if you're unwilling to work on them together as a team, then you had no business getting married to begin with. She then told me that her lover wanted both of them to leave their spouses to be together, And according to her, he wants her to leave her children so they can start fresh.
Well, you still have the kids. That's not really how that works.
Yeah, no,
They
no,
don't just like de-age and get sucked back up there.
abandon your children. Abandon your husband and abandon your children. Start a brand new life with me, with a new name, with a new alias.
In a new country.
Say, babe, I'm actually a secret agent. We're going to have to make secret agent names and switch our continents because they're after me. She really wanted to go on the trip to see if she could be away from them and see if she would feel guilty about considering it. That kind of knocked everything into place in my mind. This man is the source of her toxicity, and she's actually considering leaving her children to start a new life with her affair partner. I cannot believe how wrong I was about her character. I cannot believe she's the person who I was trying so hard to maintain the friendship with. I told her that if she leaves those kids, then they will hate her forever, and Mark will never take her back if she regrets it. She has 24 hours to think about her decision about coming clean and working on her marriage, if he even wants to, or come clean and leave him and her children. And by the way, I'll come clean about the fact that you can listen to full episodes with stories like this on your favorite podcast platforms like iHeartRadio or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Really, wherever you listen, just search OK Storytime, and you have a treat. It's like 3 months worth of stories. And we do have a little bit more story here, but Carly, do you have anything to add here at the very end?
This started with a trip to the Grand Canyon. And now we're in a full-fledged affair.
Yep.
Yeah, she's crazy. Just get away. So let's just not even get involved in this. Like I don't even know what you do at that point. Besides just be like, hey, don't abandon your family like a crappy person.
Yeah, I think at this point you're kind of making the right call where it's like, yeah, so I'm done with you regardless.
Yeah. Like
you have
either
a
way,
day.
done.
Yeah, you have a day to figure out whether you're going to be a complete scumbag or, tell your husband. But either way, he's going to find out. And low-key, I feel like that is going to push her more to the scumbag solution because it'll just be her running away.
You tell him, but
yeah, she's just going to probably run away and not really address her problem. I'm so disgusted with her, and I cannot fathom what she's even talking about. I got up to leave, and she stopped me saying, you chose to be single and selfish. I chose my family once. Is it so bad that I want to be selfish now too? I look her right in the eyes and said, yes. My decision was to choose myself and travel and see as much as I can. Your decision resulted in a lifetime of responsibility, and you knew that. I'm not going to feel guilty because you don't know the meaning of commitment. I left before she could respond further. I got into bed and just bawled my eyes out because I just lost my person, and I'm never going to have her again. I haven't blocked either of them just yet, at least until tomorrow after the 24 hours are up. And that is the end of that story.
My sister-in-law kept nagging us for a visit, but I don't want her here.
You should visit somewhere else.
I, 28 female, and my husband, 28 male, are expecting our first baby next month. We've been married for over 6 years, and it took us over a year to conceive. Relevant to the story. By the way, this comes from throwaway 26225, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Savannah.
I'm Sophia.
I'm Keon.
And we're here to give you some good advice, goofily. But guess what? We don't have all the answers. You should tell us what you would do in the comments, because we're going to tell you what we're doing right now. My husband is in the military and deploys very early next year for a long time. We are prepared for that separation, but no, it will be hard on him to be apart from our first baby during the whole remaining first year of his life. We have 2 months and a week where he'll be able to be present. In that time, we have 3 sets of our parents visiting, each between 5 days to 2 weeks long. None have set days or durations except for my mom, who'd like to be here for the first 2 weeks-ish after birth. My father and stepmother will visit next for around a week sometime in early December to mid-December. No one is able to visit during the holidays, and we live states away from most family. My husband's parents will be visiting in early January to mid-January from anywhere from 5 days to 2 weeks. They've given us different time frames, and I'd love for them to stay longer rather than a shorter amount of time. We have my husband's brother and wife in the same town as us. They may be moving early January to another state. Now to the tricky part. My husband's sister, let's call her Stacy, is in her mid-30s and has several kids. Stacy has been wanting us to have kids for years. When we were trying, I've received a lot of advice, and when it wasn't working, she made a lot of comments to others about how I truly didn't want kids. I do. And how she thought I was hiding medical information. I wasn't. I became very self-conscious and went to a specialist to get checked, and everything was normal. I told them, Stacy and my husband's family, and they kept asking which exact tests I did and for more information. I told them my OB said it could take a bit over a year for the last of the birth control pills I've been using for 7 years to clear from my system. I kept getting pressured, so I took an option from the specialist to try a timed conceiving method with medication assistance. After a short window, it worked. From there, Stacy told me what I needed to do to have a healthy baby. Try home birth or a center and to have a doula. I tried to do as much as she recommended, but I feel most comfortable at a hospital as I'm having a high-risk pregnancy due to a health condition I have. Doulas cost $1.5K on average, and that wasn't in our budget. I tried to be very kind about it and explained to her my decisions as months went by. Every time I didn't agree to something I don't want to try hypnobirthing or told her I didn't know yet, we weren't sure if insurance could help with a doula's cost. I would get a lot of texts for days to change my mind. We found out a doula isn't covered, and we told her we couldn't afford one. She offered to cover the cost, which is incredibly generous, and I initially said no because that's too much to ask for. But after a couple of days of her texting and my husband's mother calling us, caved. There were some things I stood by, like finding out our baby's gender. My husband and I really wanted to know, and choosing a hospital to give birth at, but it's hard having my own opinions and trying to stick by them. I don't want to upset Stacy and cause more stress for my husband, who also tries to stay in good graces with his family. There are many other things she wants me to do that I don't want to, but I do my best to make everyone happy and to prioritize my baby as well. There has been at least 1 week a month where I get days of text change on what to do and what not to do, and if I don't agree, it can get very blown up fast. A month ago, Stacy asked to come out for a few days to meet our son. My husband and I talked about it and decided to say no. He has to go back into work starting in January to prepare for the deployment, and he could leave any time from the very end of January to early February. No solid dates have been given. After his parents leave in mid-January, we'd have a matter of weeks before he leaves. While we do get some time in December to ourselves and our son, we have this January to February window to ourselves as well. My husband doesn't get a lot of time to bond with our son before being gone most of 2026, and we don't get much time to adjust as parents and get to know our new immediate family. We want to give our parents a lot of time to meet our son, and we also want time to adjust for ourselves. We explained this to Stacy, and she seemed to accept it after a few days of texts and calls. It was hard for my husband to get her to understand. If he weren't deploying, we'd be more than happy to have her over. My husband's grandmother just told us this week she'd be in the area for a wedding and wanted to visit during the time my husband's parents are visiting in January. None of our parents can be here at the same time, and his grandmother doesn't get along with most of his family. He hasn't told her yet that she can't stay with us because his parents will be here, but we could offer to meet for a dinner if she stays nearby. You should tell her,
Yeah.
because
Can we
it
just be
seems like
straight up
she's
with
gonna
her?
be mad.
Yeah.
This is only because she's already in the area, and we'd feel awful saying a complete no.
Say complete no.
So you're gonna
You
be
already
like,
said
yeah,
no.
you can probably stay here, and then when she gets here, she can't stay here. What? We can't completely tell her no. Yes, you can if there's no room in your house. What? My husband and I can be people pleasers at times, and we struggle with letting people down. Stacy heard this and blew up my husband's phone after 6 p.m. last night. She's mad that we are allowing the grandmother to visit, but not her. Side note, I'm also not letting any more of my family, siblings, grandparents, etc. visit either. She doesn't realize that we aren't hosting their grandmother, but we plan to call Stacy tonight to explain this. My husband had to work until 11 p.m. last night and go in at 6 a.m., so we couldn't call her and chat then. My husband did respond to a few texts to tell her we are still keeping it to parents only and reminded her that I told some of my family no as well. This did not go over well. Here is her response directly to me via our text chain. Hi, I just really want to see my brother as a father for the first time in his life, and it just so happens he has a time crunch before he leaves to It hurts being lumped and compared to your aunt and sister or other family members when I'm his sister, and I'm just wanting to see my brother and support him before he goes to. It would be amazing spending the time seeing him become a father. He got to do this for me and for her son and for his brother. It's that support from your side of the family. Husband literally only has his folks and me, and I was literally only planning on 3 nights and then leaving because it's such travels and it's a lot for me to go solo. So I was hoping I could do this, and I've offered to stay at a hotel or their brother's house, and I'm still being told no. Grandma blank doesn't compare, honestly, and there is a history there. Really hurtful, and I feel a very personal dig, even if husband says it's not. I'm not your side of the family. I'm husband's only other sibling other than brother who lives there. So I ask, how could this not feel like a personal dig? I don't know why you wish not to allow me to come visit and support your husband as his sister, especially since I offered to stay somewhere else. I'm really hurt deeply. After all the support and time and energy, it hurts to be told no and given all these excuses.
Shut up. Shut up.
I mean, I could see her
Very easy.
side. I could see, like, she just wants to be supportive and help and whatever, and they're just like, no, not right now. You know, it might work for you, but it might not work for them, and it has to work for both sides of the party.
Gotta.
So I didn't text Stacy before or after this, as my husband wants to do his best to handle the situation. The last 4 days text chain ended 2 days ago. It was about Stacy feeling like I'm very cold about pregnancy and not being open and honest when I've been very honest to a fault. I've told her about all of my health struggles. I'm even on bed rest right now because I've been incredibly sick this whole pregnancy. Ugh, I'm so excited to become a mom and meet my son, but the pregnancy has been incredibly hard on my health. I'm at risk for delivering early, so my husband is doing his best to help me manage anything stressful. He plans to call Stacy tonight, but Stacy did also threaten to cut us out of our lives last night, called their brother for hours until almost 11 p.m., has left family group chats today, and has called my husband's parents today, who now also want to call him. We try so hard to make everyone happy, and we almost caved to allowing her to visit despite our timeline, but now we feel lost. My husband's brother and his wife are trying to back us up, but I feel like a villain for causing this situation. Out of my husband and I've been advocating more for him to get as much bonding time with our son before he deploys, and I'm a bit selfish myself, wanting time to adjust with just us.
That's not selfish. It's your family. You're allowed to want to do stuff with just your family.
I know it will be a lot to become parents, figure out the new us and lifestyle, and to connect with our son as a solid team. As cheesy as it all sounds. Even our parents told us to do so months ago. But now I worry his parents may be changing their minds on that. My husband feels bad for telling Stacy no too, and almost changed his mind yesterday. He agrees though that we could really use this time together between parents coming and going. I also had an OB appointment today where they did warn me I may deliver early in the next week given the amount of symptoms I've been having 4 weeks prior to my due date.
Oh, he's got too much to worry about, not even including sister-in-law.
You know, you have a high-risk pregnancy, you're literally on bed rest, you're trying to figure out who can visit, who can't visit. Also, your husband is leaving to go do other things for work. Like, you're trying to adjust as best as you can. And it's hard to allow other people to come in and be like, oh, you should do this, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, and also your hormones are everywhere. I'm like,
Yeah, and you're pregnant.
yeah. If we end up having extra weeks of time with an early delivery, I'd be willing to try and have Stacy over at some point for a few days. But we don't know for sure, and we were pressured to give answers right away in the past. So we did. I'm so worried that this is causing a rift in my husband's family with us. Stacy has severe anxiety, which can be why we get a lot of texts at times about matters. And I know she truly loves my husband and wants the best for him. Am I the a-hole for standing by my husband and I's decision to not have her visit? I believe that if I change my mind and cave, my husband will too. He would like her to meet our son and knows it would mean a lot. But he knows how hard it will be to lose more time with just us and hosting a lot of people within a month and a half of delivering our son. It's the easier route at this point to cave. I did offer Stacy to visit us after my husband deploys, and we do plan to visit her and his side of the family for Christmas in 2026 after he gets back from the deployment. It absolutely stinks to have to wait so long, so I feel bad about the long wait for Stacy to get to visit and meet her son. She wasn't enthusiastic about visiting after my husband leaves. My husband mentioned this thread, and while I wasn't planning on posting here, I do think it would be wise for me to see if I'm being the a-hole. I want to do what's best, even if it isn't what I'd like. Next year will be hard no matter what, and I worry for my husband missing out on so many milestones in our son's life. I'm going to do my best to let extended family meet him by flying out to visit everyone while he's gone. I'm going to make sure my husband gets all of the updates and as much time video calling our son as he wants. I want to make next year as easy as possible on him and us. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong here, and I'm incredibly torn about this situation. Am I the a-hole?
No.
No.
No, you're not.
You're allowed to do what you want to do.
It's your baby. It's your family. Stop letting people bully you around.
Would it be better if I changed my mind about Stacy visiting?
Stop,
No.
girl. Stop it. Wake up. Stop.
Yeah,
Stop letting
you
her
just-
walk all over you.
Stop
gotta-
caving.
Because once you give her that, she's gonna keep taking, and be and just making. She knows what's gonna make you cave, and that's not cool. That's not a great relationship to have, especially with someone who you want to be close with and who you should be close with. And I do think that maybe your husband needs to deal with her a little more.
Yeah,
I think like he
absolutely.
does. And obviously he's busy and you're busy and whatnot. And maybe just sit down and hash it out over the phone or something, because I know she doesn't live there. But just like there's not any problem with like just trying to figure it out. But that is the end of that story.
My ex refused to block the woman he secretly slept with after getting me pregnant.
Damn.
Directly from the subreddit, guys. I, 41 female, am 7 weeks pregnant with the baby of my ex-boyfriend, 42 male. We broke up because he was continuing to communicate and sleep with a 60-year-old woman he'd been in a situationship with for the previous 8 years, which I didn't know about until I sought out more information on the question page.
Well, sounds like a good reason to break up with somebody. In my opinion, that's definitely a perfectly reasonable situation to break up with someone over.
That's the opening.
By the way, this comes from Fair Supermarket 4529, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit where this is from. And OP says, my stipulation for us to communicate is that he tells this woman he is done with her and not to contact him anymore. He wants to talk about a romantic future with me. I want to talk about peacefully co-parenting. I have one child, he has none, and he always wanted one. I've always wanted a second. He doesn't want to have a child where he is not in a relationship with the child's mother in the same home. I was deceived into the relationship to begin with. I had known about his 8-year situationship with this much older woman who honestly is physically unattractive, works in finance, and is in an elite white upper class community with horseback riding and country clubs, divorced with grown children.
Yeah, he's getting that money. He's getting that old, rich, white lady money.
The roast of who is honestly physically unattractive is
Yeah.
wild.
She's a physically unappealing, financially attractive, rich white lady.
He just wants to go horseback riding at the country club. I never would have wanted anything to do with him. For this story, let's call her Fifi. His timeline. He met Fifi 8+ years ago, about a year and a half in. He got into a serious relationship with a different woman for 2 years. We'll call her Nellie. While with Nellie, he continued to sleep with Fifi. He never took Fifi on dates. He made her park her car around the corner from his house. He had some weird, spicy related stuff with Fifi while maintaining his relationship with Nellie, insisting he was not physically attracted to Nellie, all the while sleeping with Fifi on the side.
Toss all of this into a river. Toss it all in the river.
Cowbot,
This is a lot.
Cleanse yourself with the river.
Cowbot, calm down.
Read Ronan Q's.
Ew, guys.
Take out them dentures and it's a whole new world like Aladdin.
Is there a service in Bali where I can have all
No.
of my memories of the last 30 seconds erased?
Nope. He said he wanted to end his relationship with Nellie, but didn't know how, so he was trying to get caught cheating. Fifi sent dirty photos and videos of him cheating to Nellie. I'm assuming he denied it or said the videos were old. Either way, eventually, Nellie showed up at Fifi's home while he was there in the morning. Fast forward to May of 2024. This man and I start talking, and it was not a really great relationship. Spicy sleepily, We were compatible, and it could have been a very good relationship if he had been emotionally available. I felt him being emotionally unavailable, so I went on the T page and found Fifi. She blocked me on Facebook. I Googled her phone number and called her.
Wait, what is the T app?
I don't know for sure that it's the T app. The T app is like a place where you can like report about men and stuff. Like, what's
That's
the T?
gotta 100% be what this is.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And we spoke for 1.5 hours. Fifi said they were together physically in April 2024 the last time. She never admitted to sleeping with him while he and I were together, but I know she did. She shared spicy related text messages between the two of them. He was telling her he was not seeing anyone over and over when he was seeing me. He told her repeatedly he missed her, reaching out to her. When confronted, he said he didn't do anything wrong. He swore he didn't cheat and didn't feel bad for the text. Just the way he spoke about this woman made me sick. No respect for her at all. I dumped him. Even without the cheating, he was cheap, lazy, deceitful, dishonest, judgmental, discriminatory, closet guard, uncultured, selfish, greedy, and lacking a backbone and a proper chin.
Damn, that last one's crazy.
I hate to say this, but
I love
at
OP.
some point when you dunk on an ex at that level, you also dunk on yourself because you were dating them.
I mean, she got out of there pretty quick.
I'm
though.
glad you did. I'm just letting you know, optically, you go, yeah, well, that was also you dated them.
And he has no chin.
But I'm glad
I
you're
think
out.
it's a fair
I'm
dunk.
glad that you're out. It's just a warning, you know. Don't accidentally self-dunk on yourself.
Sometimes you gotta go through the bad to get to the good.
I know, agreed. I'm just saying, maybe just, you know.
It's called a learning experience.
Whatever. I saw him one last time in the beginning of September. Now I'm pregnant. By the way, you can always listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search up OK Storytime. A whole bunch of episodes there. We have a little bit more. What you thinking?
Always use protection, kids. Then you don't have to have a baby with apparently the ugliest, grossest dude on the planet.
Someone goes, is the 60-year-old preggers too? My God, they can raise their kids together.
No, the 60-year-old is not pregnant.
We don't know that.
I know that. I know that.
You never know.
60-year-old,
You never know.
not pregnant.
Never know.
Nope.
Never know. Before I knew for sure I was pregnant, I asked him to dinner, my treat. My only stipulation was that he messaged this woman requesting her to never contact him again and block her.
Bro, you're paying for his dinner after he cheated on you?
Because also, here's the other part of this. It's like, she probably wasn't the only one reaching out every time. He's just gonna don't contact me. He's gonna contact her.
You paid for his dinner after he cheated on you.
He called me crazy. He said I was obsessed with her and childish. He said he would not do that. He says he's not in contact with her now. Am I the a-hole for requesting that this man tells this woman to not contact him again and block her in order to give me peace of mind? Is this really such an irrational, ridiculous request? That's the end of that story. No, can we just dump this man instead, though?
You should be BFF Jillies with the 60-year-old and go horseback riding with her. Or not.
Leave this man if you can't afford to raise the child. Give it up for adoption if you can. None of that is okay. Neither of those two stories were okay in any way. You both need to leave the terrible, pathetic men that are in your life. I'm sorry that you are pregnant with this man's child, but it's not good. It's not like am I the a-hole for... Yeah, you're going to be the a-hole to yourself if you stay with this guy. That's what I think.
And you're one of us, so I hope that you're watching maybe.
Yeah.
And you can take this advice and just leave this man.
I moved back with my parents, and it feels like a punishment.
Move back out?
I was betrayed by my fiance beyond repair, and as a result, had to move back home temporarily. I was absolutely dreading it because I did so during the vid, and living with my parents was exhausting. I love them, and I want a good relationship with them, but living here has reestablished in their minds an inconsiderate power dynamic that, to them, I'm still their young child, and they can boss me around however they like. By the way, this comes from Throwaway 8264625, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia,
I'm Carly.
and we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, we live in a very high cost of living area, all surrounding states, really. And I'm doing everything in my power to save up so I can afford my own place. But I'm beginning to doubt that can ever happen unless I find random roommates or a partner. I think you should find random roommates. I'm extremely grateful that my parents are letting me stay here and that they understand that our economy isn't like it was when they were younger. So I try to show my gratitude in any way possible. I pay 1/3 of the rent. I constantly offer to help out financially in other ways. I do the grocery shopping. I do the dishes. I cook if needed. I run errands when I'm capable of doing so. And above all, I stay out of their way and keep all my belongings confined to my bedroom or storage. That being said, I find that even in trying to meet them where I can, my parents can act extremely spoiled, particularly my mom, and they ask me favors that I don't find appropriate. My mom spends a majority of her days sitting on her phone, playing games, or talking to her friends, and watching television in her pajamas. She is physically able, in fact. Her doctors have encouraged her to be more active. And honestly, she really does spend her days doing a whole lot of nothing and then complaining about how hard her day was because she had to make a customer service call or something. And yet she constantly asks me to do very petty things for her that she's perfectly capable of doing. For example, if I'm in the living room with her, then permanently leave to go somewhere else in the house and she knows I'm not headed back to the living room, she rarely skips a beat to ask me to bring her dessert.
Okay.
That one's not that bad.
That's really not that bad.
My parents do
You're getting
that.
up anyway.
I do that to my parents. My parents do that to me.
Yeah. Just do
If
back
I'm
to
staying
her.
over.
What were the ages again? Did we
How
have
old
them?
is OP? Might be in the title. Let's see.
I didn't remember, but more so of the parents.
Yeah.
If we have parent ages. That's like, how old are your parents?
Yeah.
How old are you? Is
I
like a
gotta know.
fairly decent factor in that.
Even if I explain I'm not coming back beforehand, she still expects a yes. Sometimes I'll be sitting there after a long day trying to decompress, and she'll still ask me, as if she's not equally as far from the fridge. It's one thing if I get up and ask the room if anyone would like anything, but I feel like she takes advantage of favors to compensate for her own laziness, or expects her family to serve her for some reason. Another example, I'll be working during the week and she's fully aware I am, but will still ask if I will go return a dress she bought for her. When she's got nothing going on, could definitely do it herself, and isn't otherwise preoccupied. For instance, when I'm out running the errand, she'd be watching TV. Sometimes she won't stop and she just takes every opportunity to ask favors. She switches on this very sweet voice too, so I always know when it's coming. And usually starts a sentence with, "Will you be a nice person and..." as though I'm a bad person if I don't. The problem is, whenever I get fed up and start to set boundaries and say no, or even maybe later, or whenever she can read my body language that I'm slightly annoyed, she instantly yells at me, not just, "Oh, okay, that's fine," literally yelling like, "How dare I!" I get an immediate reaction like I'm the rudest, most selfish, most uncaring person in the world if I don't do it. And then she reminds me of all the favors she's done for me as justification for why I should do it without hesitation. Which is completely unfair because she'll do me favors I don't ask her to do. And in fact, wish she wouldn't, like laundry, and then weaponizes them against me as though she's keeping some sort of favor scorecard. Sometimes she'll be mad at me the entire day for this and intentionally avoid me to let me know in her eyes I've messed up. To boot, the reverse is an absolute no-no. I know if I ever dreamed of asking either of my parents for lazy favors like that, they would immediately shut me down, and my mom would be appalled and laugh in my face in a patronizing tone that I'm a big girl and capable of doing it myself. It would be entirely out of the question, but they can't see the hypocrisy. If someone needs me to run the drugstore or help lift something, I know the important ways to help. I don't mind helping out, truly, but within reason, and I definitely feel taken advantage of in this area. I think my mom has a very 1950s attitude that children serve their parents because that's what she grew up with. She expects to be coddled, but I can't dare ask for help without bothering her. My dad still asks favors, but he also works very hard, and we have a more equal exchange of effort, if you will. although sometimes it frustrates me that I'm the one to always do the doting. But honestly, even though I'm living here, I have done more than my fair share of helping out over the last few years. Both my parents have had multiple surgeries over the last few years, including during the vid, and I was the only one of my siblings to step in and care for them, even years after quarantine, only to be told I wasn't doing enough, wasn't really doing that much, or sweet sentiments like, well, your siblings are married and busy with their lives, and you're not. And what could you possibly have going on that's more important than taking care of your sick parent? Meanwhile, I have become so accustomed to my mom getting mad at me for asking for help that I now expect that reaction, and I've grown into an adult who never asks anyone for favors because I immediately expect they'll say no. Most people I've encountered would never dare help me out through the good or the bad, which is a very difficult and isolating way to live. Would never dare help me out?
What?
I know something like grabbing your parent a sandwich sounds petty, but what hurts me very deeply is my mom and I always had a strained relationship. She's usually quite harsh and standoffish with me, and I feel like she often only talks to me if she wants something from me that she doesn't want to do herself, purely because she doesn't feel like it. I rarely get I love yous from her, let alone thank yous, so why would I want to go out of my way for someone who talks to me like that? And let me clarify, I do often offer to do small favors like that, but the few times I don't, that's what gets noticed and criticized. More than anything, I hate that I'm being treated like this all because I'm single and this economy doesn't support independence. I'm passing away for my own space and it's not feasible right now, but I am a fully grown, mature, working adult and feel I deserve to be respected as one by my parents. But just because I'm not married, I'm not. At the moment, I also work extensive hours, sometimes 60 to 70 hours a week, to try and save up as much as possible, so it's not like I'm sitting on my behind eating bonbons and then complaining about helping out. Most days, I'm exhausted by the end of work. And honestly, some days as a single adult are very heavy, carrying the burden alone while everyone else has a spouse to lean on. And it would be nice to have a selfless act of service from a family member every now and then. But I would never be able to rely on anyone to do so if my own mother gets pissed at me for asking. I'm confused if you're assuming that.
Like, I'm just not understanding the part about, like, not being married being the factor.
Oh,
of
that's
this.
not my curiosity here is OP keeps saying, like, I can't ask anyone for
That too.
favors. And I'm wondering if you have tried and people have rejected you, or if you just think because your mother rejects you that everyone will. Because that's how that last sentence sounded. I'm so stressed and overwhelmed in my personal life right now, feeling like I've failed at every aspect of life because I have to live at home. And I hate knowing that saying no to one little favor can make me the enemy and make me feel like I can't even do right by my family. Despite the lengths I do go to try and win their favor, it really ruins my entire week. And sometimes I feel like I can't take being treated like a complete letdown one more time over such insignificant things. It's a game I cannot win. Despite all the good I do, one mistake and that's it. By the way, it would be a mistake for you guys not to listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. Any final thoughts?
I stand by. Have we had a conversation? Have we
Yeah.
exhausted our options to find cheap housing or moving out? I feel like that would be the easiest thing. If there's any
Yeah.
way that you could find cheap studio or some space you could just have your own.
At the same time, I'm resentful. I want to be putting this level of care and energy into a life and home with a husband. And I want to be appreciated for the extreme effort I do contribute, rather than getting all the life sucked out of me by my ungrateful mother. I just feel like this is going to be the rest of my life, and I'm completely stuck. Instead of getting to be married and raising a family of my own, I'm trapped as the spinster Cinderella who had to stick around and take care of her parents because I didn't find love and should be so grateful they let me live here and do anything they demand, even if it's degrading. So am I the a-hole for not just doing small favors like this? I feel so conflicted because I always feel like the a-hole no matter the situation. Am I a bad person? Am I being selfish? Or is this something that entitled parents condition you to feel? Does the severe negative reaction match the crime? Is this normal treatment from parents? Am I overreacting? I think that OP is still healing from that hurt with her ex-fiance. And I think is just resenting the fact that she's kind of having to start over in a way, or at least in her mind, because she went from having a fully independent life to now being back with her parents. And I think that's
Yeah.
like so hard to go from independence to not being independent anymore.
My manager pestered me about my hygiene, so I got him reported.
Hopefully you're not stinky.
I, 22 male, recently moved states and started my new job I've been transferred to. I've been working here for about a month as both a sales and stock associate, and I've been having some issues with one of my supervisors. Let's call him Rob, 18. By the way, this comes from user parkingwindow1773, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
I'm Keon.
And we are here to give you good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We just know what we do. So tell us what you would do in the comments. And OP says, for context, everyone at the store dislikes Rob, including my manager. He's a terrible supervisor and honestly just a bad person. He's late every week by 30 minutes to an hour and never gives notice in advance. During his shifts, he is what me and my friends call a register hog and hogs the register and spends all the time on his phone while the rest of us are doing the actual work. Because he's always at the register, he rings up customers and selects himself as the associate who helped them and takes credit from the rest of us, even though he doesn't need the sales since supervisors have much lower goals than associates. He doesn't listen to our store manager, goes behind her back, and tries to tell her what to do. He's already gotten 3 write-ups in the month I've been here. He's condescending to employees, micromanages employees, treats us like we are dumb, is rude to customers, thinks he can do whatever he wants, and even once fell asleep for an hour during his shift, and then 2 associates had to wake him up at closing. At first, I thought he was chill and funny, but that changed pretty quickly. The first red flag was when a customer came in explaining he applied for a job and asked why he hadn't heard back. After the customer left, Rob said that he looks special. What do you want me to say to this, dude? I literally just replied with, okay, because I have social anxiety and cannot deal with silence, so I felt I had to answer him. Anyway, the main incidents. The first one, I was scheduled until 6 p.m. and had just clocked out when Rob stopped me and said he wanted to talk privately. I genuinely thought I was in trouble and started panicking. He started off with, I know you run hot, but then he proceeded to say, I smell really bad. I felt so bad after he said this, so bad I didn't even know what to say. I told him I have a chronic illness that causes me to sweat even more on top of me already running very hot naturally. He asked if I take pills for it. No, bro, I actually just let it fester inside me. I told him yes. But I didn't feel that was his business, which you are correct, it is not. The conversation really should have ended once I said I have a chronic illness. If I were in his position, I would be apologizing over and over and would not continue. Instead, the conversation went on for a full 5 minutes just about how I smell really bad. He would start some sentences with, I'm not trying to be mean, and then say something mean. Just because you add that at the beginning doesn't automatically make the following sentence any less mean. He told me, from a business standpoint, it could turn customers away and make them leave. He said he only likes to work with clean people. This made me more upset, as I am a clean person. I shower every day, clean up after myself, wash my hands, and do hand sanitizer frequently. I reapply deodorant, etc. I felt so terrible that he implied I wasn't. Then he told me I could bring deodorant to work and reapply during the day, which I already was doing, but I guess not enough. I was nodding my head and taking in his advice and didn't say I was uncomfortable because he's my supervisor and it felt illegal to argue with him, especially since it was my first week there. I also have terrible social anxiety and struggle to tell people I'm uncomfortable. So I just thanked him even though I'm not sure to this day if I meant it. He asks if we're cool, I lie and say yes. Not even 2 minutes later, he asked me my pronouns, which I thought was a solid question. For more background, I am a trans man. I tell him he, him. He looks me in the eyes and goes, are you sure? I genuinely wanted to cry.
Yeah, so see now, he's fully just being an a-hole. And this is easily a write-up, and you shouldn't have to work for this man.
Yeah. I already have a fear in the back of my mind that people can tell I'm trans. Now this fear was heightened. I was thinking about this, and even if I wasn't and I was cis, this would still be an offensive question. For instance, if my mom was asked, "What are your pronouns?" and she says she, her, and someone on the other end goes, "Are you sure?" It reads as, "Are you sure?" Because you look like a man to me, if that makes sense. I tell him I'm sure. Then he goes, "Are you sure you don't use they, them?" Nothing wrong with those pronouns, but it seems to me like he already has his mind made up about what I look like, which is non-binary, which, by the way, does not even have a look, and what I said did not align with what he was thinking. Anyway, I left work that night and immediately sent voice messages to my friends about what happened. I just felt awful, ashamed, and defeated. I took a shower as soon as I got home because all I could think about was how he said I smelled very bad. I thought about the pronoun conversation and realized I didn't even ask his pronouns, and that maybe I was also being inconsiderate.
You were not. You were not. You got hit with someone being just incredibly rude and mean to you in that moment. I think you should just walked away.
Yeah. I made a mental note that I really prioritized to ask him next time I worked with him. Next time I worked with him, I say, "Oh, by the way, last time we spoke, I realized I didn't even ask your pronouns. What pronouns do you use?" He just goes, just regular. Brother, what are regular pronouns?
He goes by Reg and Lar.
Regular.
Yeah, the way I would so hard be using regular in place of his pronouns.
I'd say, "What
for
up, Reggie?"
everything. What's up, regular?
Now, me and my friends have an inside joke where we refer to him as regular. Then he says he, him. Since the initial deodorant conversation, I became obsessive with deodorant and reapplying. Every 2 seconds at work, I would go to the back stock room and reapply insane amounts in fear of my supervisor, Rob, being able to smell me and say something. Before and after work, I was also going ham. I would try very hard not to stand close to not only Rob, but my other coworkers and the customers. My mind was now not focused on work, but instead how I smell. Then exactly a week later, I worked an 11.5-hour shift. I finally clocked out and was literally turning around to leave, and he stops me. I don't remember how he started the topic because it was all a blur, but he told me I smelled really bad again, and I just felt defeated again. But this time even more, because I couldn't fathom how after all this reapplying, I still smell terrible to him. I cut him off and tell him I was literally doing everything I could and was reapplying like crazy. That I'm coming in the back stock room every 2 seconds and applying insane amounts of deodorant. He tells me it is a little better, but still bad. He says he can't smell it if he's standing a few feet away, but he can if we're close. I feel like since mentioning my chronic illness, this shouldn't even be a discussion anymore. This conversation lasts even longer than the first. Then we go over to the alarm so he can set it. He starts asking more personal, invasive questions. He asks if my sweat is soaking wet. He asks if it drips down. Brother, what do we do?
Why don't you want a description of your armpit sweat?
Come on. This is not it's not mysterious. It's armpit sweat. What are we doing? Why do you need to know that as a supervisor? Again, I was unsure how to tell him I'm uncomfortable and was just panicking and had a lot of anxiety, so I'm honest with him and say no. I tell him how I know some people are like that, but I'm not, despite sweating a lot and running hot. What relevance does this have? He keeps going. He asks if my armpits are soaking wet. I say no. He goes, "Really?" I tell him yes. He says, "If you touch your armpits right now, are they wet?"
Dude, what?
I think that
What
he
is
has
going
the thing for
on?
armpits.
This is weird.
This is going too far, and this man needs to be extremely reported to his superiors.
Yeah, let's talk to the real boss here. I tell him no. He goes, "Not at all." And I say no. I share with him, no one has ever told me this before, not even my friend who has no problem telling people things like this. He responds with, "Oh, well then I don't know." He then sets the alarm and we leave. I wanted to cry so bad, to say the least. I told my parents, sibling, and therapist, and they all said I needed to tell my manager even though I didn't want to for a few reasons. I did not feel this was severe or serious enough at all and felt I would not be taken seriously. 2, I did not want to feel like a tattletale. 3, I was scared if I told my manager, Rob would find out and make my life a living nightmare. or I genuinely just felt scared overall to say something. I ended up telling my manager on a whim. She thought this was unacceptable behavior and said she was so sorry. Overall, she was very supportive and told me she will take care of this. She took this to her boss, who took this to HR, which I didn't know it would even go there.
We all knew this would go there.
Yeah, it would go there. It's weird. I had to write a written statement as well as my manager. They also needed a written statement from Rob, but since it was confidential, all they could give him were the dates of the incidents, which unfortunately, with that information, made it easy for Rob to find out I reported him. Luckily enough, he hasn't said anything to me. As of right now, HR hasn't done anything, or anything I know of. I still work with this guy, unfortunately. They couldn't even take me off the schedule with him. I don't know why. Here's where I feel conflicted. Earlier today, a somewhat new hire, who is also a family friend of my manager, assaulted both Rob and my manager just 30 minutes before I got to work.
What is
What?
this job? What is going on?
Hey, OP, maybe we just quit and find a safer job altogether. What?
Crazy. There was a police report and the guy was immediately fired. I do not know the details, but apparently there was a knife involved. Rob left early with a police officer. Despite everything that's happened with Rob and the type of person he is, I obviously feel awful for him, like sick to my stomach and wanting to cry bad. I keep thinking about how he just went through something traumatic, and meanwhile, there's my HR report on top of that too. Literally not your fault
Not
or your
your
problem.
fault at all. And those two things don't fall both on you. Even the one doesn't fall on you. He's being weird.
Yeah. It makes me feel so guilty, like I added to his misery or something.
I think the coworker that showed up and assaulted him added to his misery.
I think so. I know logically that what he did to me was wrong, and I also know he's a terrible person, but I can't get rid of this guilt. And prior to this, I had a fear my situation wasn't serious enough to report. After what's happened, my situation feels so minuscule, it feels it wasn't serious enough compared to what just happened to him. I just wanted outside perspective because I'm feeling so conflicted. And there is an update.
You should seek some therapy to get past that guilt, because you 1000% should have, and I'm glad that you reported everything. He was being awful. He's a terrible person, and he needs to learn. And him getting whatever else came to him that day before shift is completely unrelated. Who even knows? Maybe it's because he was also being stinky to that guy.
Who knows? Yeah, he was like, "Oh, you're a little stinky today, aren't you?"
Yeah, maybe he made
Called
some
the
comment
wrong
about
guy.
that dude's armpits out in the parking lot
Yeah.
before his first shift ever.
Called the wrong guy stinky.
Yep.
OP, I think you could be meaner. I think you could be more of an a-hole.
I think
you're
it
so
would be-
little of an a-hole that it lets you, it makes you let other people be a-holes to you.
Yeah, I think it would be really good, OP, if you learned to walk away in silence like you wanted to that one time when you were like, but I had to give an answer. No.
Nah, you could have
Make
just
them,
turned
let
and
them
left.
sit with their thoughts that they just said. Like, let them really stew on how silly they sound.
We do have an update here. Rob's last day was yesterday. I'm not sure what the final straw was. It could be that he called out of work 3 of the 5 days he was supposed to work last week. It could be that he showed up 40 minutes late on his only shifts that he went in for. All I know is I'm glad he's gone. Anyway, my manager gave all of us specific tasks for us to do yesterday. She wrote them out on a piece of paper and then taped this to the computer we used to clock in. She purposely gave Rob unobtainable and diabolical tasks. I got to work, and the sheet she wrote out on Saturday was hidden and no one was doing their tasks, him included. Not only that, but halfway through my shift, he let us know he was going on break and that if we needed him to come get him. Where I work, only supervisors and managers can do returns and exchanges. Not even 10 minutes after he went on break, a customer came in to return something. I went to the back stock room to get him, and he was sleeping. I yelled his name 3 times, and he didn't wake up. My coworker came in and rubbed his arm for a good 30 seconds, and he still wasn't waking up. There is no way he could have been in that deep of sleep.
Ice bucket of water.
He's just doing the, yeah.
Considering it took 2 people to wake him up one time, I could believe it might have actually taken that
Yeah.
much.
He's taking sleeping pills before his shift and then going to sleep.
Yeah.
Crazy. By the way, something you can do while you're going to sleep is listen to full episodes with stories just like this on your favorite podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, just search OK Storytime. And you've got the whole stock room full of stories to listen to. And there is a little bit left of this story. Let's finish it off. Finally, he woke up. His entire shift, he did none of his tasks, and he either was sleeping in the back, on his phone, or sitting down on a bench inside while everyone else worked. He didn't know it was his last day, but he sure was acting like it. Glad it was his last day. I've learned a lot through writing out my Reddit posts, reading the comments, and talking with my therapist. What I've realized is that him getting beaten up by a previous coworker also reflects on him and his actions too. It seems my old coworker had enough of his torment. My manager told me I have been promoted to supervisor.
Hey.
Yeah!
Woo!
Got that promotion.
Heck
Got the
yeah.
promotion.
See, good for you, OP.
My friend made me her full-time emotional support, and I've had enough.
I'm sick of it.
I, female 45, have been friends with Jessica, female 41, for 18 years. Whew. We met in 2007 and became fast friends. We used to have a wonderful friendship, the kind where we could do fun activities or literally sit around all day just talking. I've always been the come to me for a laugh kind of friend, and Jessica could always use a good laugh. By the way, this comes from Ebers90, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, Jessica didn't have the best childhood. She had a broken home, an unstable mother, a basically absent father, and a family that didn't approve of her lifestyle. Things were not good, and it left her with a lot of trauma. On the contrary, I had a wonderful childhood with no
What?
real, literally, jokes on her. I had a great childhood with no real traumas to overcome. Because of this, I've always included Jessica in my family events, so she never felt she didn't have a place to go on holidays. One thing about me is that I always want my friends to feel like my family is their family, because my friends are extremely important to me. I'm usually a hard nut to crack, so if someone gets through my shell, I know there's someone who will be in my life long term. Through the years I've known her, Jessica has been through a lot. She's suffered the loss of her grandparents, 2 bad car accidents, major surgeries, difficult breakups, financial hardships, and all the mental and emotional pains that go along with that. Jessica also went through a lot. I was there for all of it and did my best to support her. I've lent her money, $1,700 more on that later, brought her food when she couldn't afford it, been her personal chauffeur after 2 back surgeries, helped clean her house, and countless other things. I've lived about 20 to 30 minutes from her and would go to her house 3 to 4 times a week, always with food in hand. None of the things I did was ever because she asked. It was because she was my friend and I loved her. I also knew she didn't have support from family or her other friends. When I met her, she had a pretty large group of friends, but none of them came around when times were hard. Jessica was always looking for people to replace the love she lacked as a child. I consider myself somewhat of an empath, so I picked up on that and tried to fill as much of her need to feel loved as I could. The first big situation Jessica had after we met was in 2008. At that time, she had a job but got injured at work, which resulted in surgery and left her unable to work. That's the worst time.
Oh my gosh.
The worst time not be able to work.
Work made me not be able to work.
Yeah. She struggled for several months until she asked me to lend her $1,700. Not gonna lie, this struck me as odd since I had known her just shy of a year. That said, I had always been a bit of a Captain Save-A-Ho. What? So I lent her the money. We had a long conversation about how important it was to keep her word. We came up with a simple payment plan. She was to pay me at least $50 a month until I was paid in full. I only lent her the money because I had it available, and at the end of the day, it wasn't going to make or break me if I didn't get it back, but it was the principle. She paid me twice, and I haven't seen a dime more. Wow. Against my better judgment, I never mentioned it again, but I let her know she would get no more loans from me. Genuinely, I don't think I could be friends with someone who promised to give me back the $1,700 I loaned
Yeah.
and then only ever gave me back $100.
Yeah, that is nowhere close.
No.
You're missing a lot there.
Yeah, we've got like a month's worth of rent
Yeah.
right left.
Yeah.
Times that by 17.
Since Jessica had gotten hurt at work, she had workers' comp case. This was something her job would eventually have to pay for, but she had to battle in court for a long time. During this time, she got into 2 different car accidents. Jeez, Jessica.
Oh my gosh.
She was not at fault in either, and both involved 18-wheelers from large trucking companies. Jessica literally has the worst luck of anyone I've known. Both accidents led to back surgeries.
Oh my God. I need to know more details about that because how
Oh.
are you getting in crashes with 2 18-wheelers and it's not your fault?
That's what I'm wondering.
Like, I feel like,
At that point, I'm like,
Yeah.
how close were you to those cars?
right. How,
2 18-wheelers, 2
Right.
separate incidents.
right. Where were you driving into them?
Were you in the blind spot?
Yeah, like were you too close to the back of it or something and then it had to stop and they couldn't see you there? I don't know.
Just genuinely, this person seems like workplace accident.
Yeah.
2 18-wheeler car crashes.
Like that's like getting hit by a train,
Yeah.
honestly. Like that's as bad as it can get on the road. I just don't understand how they could just not see you there or something.
yeah.
I don't get
As you can imagine, these surgeries left her unable to take care of herself for a while. With no family support and friends who only like to be around for fun, I felt I needed to help her. Not only did I feel the need, I wanted to help. I made sure she ate, went to doctor's appointments with her, helped care for pets, and supported her during bouts of depression. By early 2009, Jessica was doing much better. She could get around on her own, and life mostly returned to normal. I noticed she was going out more and meeting other friends, while I was still always the one going to her. When I asked her to come to my house, I'd get excuses about her back hurting. Then I'd find out she was driving 20 minutes to lift big TVs and do other things that exacerbated her injury.
bro.
She wouldn't even check my social media. Genuinely, at that point, I feel like she is causing a lot of these injuries. Like, I feel like she's not
Right.
being careful,
Yeah.
and then she's getting injured. 'Cause
Yeah.
what? At that point, I stopped making much of an effort to be around her. We went 2 to 3 months without talking until she called me crying. She had woken up paralyzed on one side of her face. She was diagnosed with Bell's palsy. She needed someone, and I went straight to her. The idea of her struggling alone did not sit right with me. Everything went back to what it used to be, me always going to her. She tried a little more in our friendship, but it was mostly the same as before. The more I write, the more I realize how much of a doormat I was being, my people-pleasing ways. Around 2010, this is only 3 years into the relationship.
Not a very long relationship, but a lot has happened.
Our friendship changed. I moved in with my then boyfriend, now husband, and started a new job. I saw her less, but still hung out when I could. She remained on disability, had no job, and was just getting by. Her physical health improved, though she still had chronic pain and Bell's palsy never fully went away. It went like that for a few years until I moved 3 hours away and got married. I visited her when I went back for work. In 2014, she moved to a warmer state for her back pain. I was worried about her leaving her support system, and selfishly, I was going to miss her. I understood why she wanted to go and hoped it improved her quality of life. From 2014 to 2018, we hardly talked. She usually initiated contact, and I assumed she was adjusting to her new life. I kept in contact over social media. Around 2019, when I got pregnant with my 3rd child, we talked regularly again. She had a bad breakup and needed someone to talk to. I had time as a stay-at-home mom, so I listened. By the time the video, we were spending hours on the phone. I felt she became very dependent on me. If I couldn't talk, she would text or use social media. When I could finally speak, she'd say, "I need to talk to you," like it was my responsibility to be there immediately. When I needed someone, she wouldn't hesitate to say she couldn't talk or would turn the conversation into the Jessica show. My people-pleasing ways let this happen because I didn't want to make her life seem less important. She would also give me advice on my relationship or my children, even though she had no children and no stable relationship experience. I didn't appreciate her assuming knowledge of things she hadn't experienced. I now choose not to talk about personal issues with her, which isn't a hindrance. From 2020 to 2023, I felt like I spent every waking moment on the phone with her. My children and husband asked me to spend more time with them, not on the phone.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize it was causing issues. That's
Wow, it's that bad?
when you know it's real bad.
Oh my
You're spending
gosh.
that much time on the phone with her that your children and your husband are like, hey.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that
Yeah.
kind of situation. Spending that much time
I
on the phone
actually-
with the friend?
Well, yeah, not with a friend.
Yeah.
I had a person who did that with like a partner. Like literally
Yeah.
that just always would be on the phone with a partner.
That
And
one
I was-
I've heard
yeah.
more.
Yeah, but with the friend I've not heard that one.
Crazy.
I explained this to her and she said she understood. Yet when something happened that required her ear, I justified being on the phone, telling myself it wasn't a big deal. It started causing issues in my marriage. You gotta stand up for yourself, OP.
Yeah.
You cannot let this friend who has never been there for you once ruin your marriage. I decided to stop answering every time she called. I would only talk when home alone. She noticed and asked what was going on. I told her and she made it about how my husband didn't like her. I wouldn't like you either, girl. He had never liked Jessica. She came on too strong. That wasn't the issue. I told her so, but she wouldn't accept it. We argued because I refused to let her manipulate me. Her accusations left me feeling gaslit. By the way, I don't want to gaslight you, but you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio. That's not a lie. That's just true.
It's true.
Just search a bookie Storytime.
And if you don't see it there, then
You're crazy. It's there. Just look again.
keep looking.
Ever since that confrontation, I make a point not to fall back into that. I feel she tries to pick fights to keep me on the phone. We've been friends 18 years, so I know her life.
Oh.
And she knows I try to solve problems. I suggest solutions, but she accuses me of judging her past. I feel like I can't do anything right for her, so I prefer to talk less. Not too long ago, we had another heated argument. She told me I don't love her deeply enough. She set a boundary and didn't understand why I struggled to meet it. I felt overwhelmed and ended the conversation. We tried again a few days ago. I feel I met the boundary already. I believe this is just a new way for her to demand more. She brought up her trauma and said it was why she needs more. I feel for her, but her trauma isn't my responsibility.
Yeah, I need to pause really quick
Yeah.
too, because a boundary is something that you don't cross. A boundary isn't like something that you have to meet. Like, I'm assuming what her boundary
Yeah.
was is like, oh, I need more attention from you because I feel like you don't love me
Which is
deeply
not a
enough.
boundary, that's a
Yeah.
request.
Yeah, exactly. That's not.
Yeah.
That's absolutely not what that is. She's totally manipulating. you.
Very much manipulating you. Whoa. I can no longer give more than I currently do. I know that my pulling back may feel like I abandoned her. Am I the a-hole? Girl, you are a self a-hole.
Yeah.
Self a-hole to yourself.
Yeah.
Stop being a self a-hole.
I really want you to figure this out and really stand up to her.
Yeah.
You don't need to be doing this stuff.
I just need all of the comments to be like, girl, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
She's not a good friend. She wants like a relationship from you.
She wants you to be her wife.
Yeah.
That's what she wants.
That's
She
re-
wants you to be
yeah.
her wife. Obviously, I'm not saying like she's in love with you,
Sure.
but she wants a romantic level attachment from you.
Right, and she doesn't understand that that's
Not,
not how this friendship is.
no. But
just
that
not.
is the end of that story. Good luck, OP.
Good luck.
I stopped talking because my husband is not paying attention and he threw a fit.
If you won't listen to me now, then you'll never hear from me again.
For context, my husband, 37, and I, 37, have been together for almost 21 years.
Whew.
We really love each other, and overall, we have a great relationship. He has ADHD and gets easily distracted, especially when a topic is not of his interest. By the way, this comes from user Anxious Mexican Girl, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota,
I'm Sophia.
and we are here to give you good advice goofily. We don't have all the answers, though. We just know what we do. So tell us what you would do in the comments, as OP says. One thing I should add is that I was very intense as a teenager and young adult. I don't know if more than others in a relationship, but growing up, I was very dramatic. But now I'm fully grown, gone to therapy, and honestly, I realized being the telenovela kind of girlfriend wasn't my thing. So I've been pretty chill for almost 10 years. But sometimes I wonder if he still feels that I'm going to have these huge dramatic reactions to everything or what's going on. Now, onto the issue. Lately, he's been on his phone every waking minute. I usually don't really care. I'm doing my thing, and we're able to have conversations anyway. So even if I feel he's a bit addicted to his phone, I don't mind. But it has happened on a few occasions that we're talking about something, and all of a sudden he starts playing a video or completely changes the subject because of something he saw on his phone. It kind of throws me off balance, and I don't really feel like continuing our previous conversation. And I don't mind switching topics or just doing something else. So yesterday, I made him dinner. I like cooking for the people I love. And I was telling him a story about how my childhood BFF was sometimes kind of a bully to me, and out of nowhere he says, "Oof, they're bringing so-and-so player to my team," and started watching a video. I suppose I made a face or something because he immediately realized what he had done and wanted me to continue telling him my story. But at that point, I felt like he wasn't really paying attention, so I said I didn't want to continue with that topic. From there, he said that then he didn't want to eat dinner because I had ruined his appetite by behaving that way. That's where I got really angry. To me, it's incredibly disrespectful to leave the food someone spent time cooking because you're throwing a tantrum. So I took my things and went to our room. And he said I was the one being unreasonable. I just don't get it. I didn't want to fight. I just didn't feel like talking anymore about that specific topic. And I don't know if he felt called out. He insisted that the video started by mistake. I said he shouldn't have been on the phone in the first place. And there have been similar incidents before. I mean, we both work. We don't see each other as much. So I don't know if I'm being unreasonable for wanting to have a nice time without phones involved. And if he can't do that, then maybe he can respect that I want to change the topic of conversation. Anyways, he got super angry and yelled that I ruined dinner and whatnot. I just told him I don't ask much from him. He's always able to do whatever he wants, and I'm pretty accommodating. We both are, honestly. He later apologized for yelling, but not for trying to force the conversation and being on the phone. But I don't know. He got so angry that I'm a bit confused, and I'm wondering if I should have just moved on and continued the conversation. I needed a bit of distance, so he slept in another room, and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything because his attitude seemed over the top. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? And we have some comments.
No. I thought this was going to be a situation where he like wasn't paying attention and then you blow up and are like, you know what, I'm not talking to you. Or like just ignore him for 2 days or straight.
Yeah.
You know? But that's not what happened here. You were like, okay, you know, we don't have to
I
talk
have a
anymore."
feeling that maybe your reaction was more emotionally charged than you think it was. And then his reaction to that was more charged than it should have been. So I think you guys like did like a negative feedback loop on each other.
Yeah.
Where like he should have
It's
just
possible.
he should have just swallowed that and been like, all right, I know that was wrong and that's okay. I'll get off the phone.
Yeah.
I'll be but instead he was like, well, how dare you look at me like that? Like, and now I'm not going to eat dinner because you've spoiled my appetite with your foul reaction to my ADHD.
And I think the solution for this is not like, oh, am I the a-hole? What'd I do? It's like, no, you know, whether or not your reaction was like a lot or something, he still overreacted, but it doesn't solve anything if we just point fingers. So let's sit down, say, hey, this hurt me. Going forward, can we make like a rule where we just don't look at our phones when we're on the conversation?
I think you should sit down with him and say,
Yeah.
I'm going to call you my little brain rot boy if
Yeah.
you don't stop getting distracted by your phone mid-conversation with me.
Yeah, every time
Little
you do
brain
that,
rot
I
baby
go,
boy.
little brain rot boy,
Brain rot boy.
brain rot boy.
BRB, brain rot boy. And then maybe it'll be funny.
Maybe it'll work.
Maybe it'll be a little funny.
Maybe
Make
add some
make it a little funny so then it's not
Yeah.
so angry.
Yeah.
Comments. So he doesn't like being told when he's done something wrong and threw a tantrum like a toddler and then tried to gaslight you. This blew way out of proportion from his end. Is this a usual thing or just started recently? Sounds like a selfish dude, to be honest. He's in the wrong. You are not. I would suggest a conversation with him about how you feel about phones. Comment 2 says, not the a-hole. He blamed you for your reaction to his neglect. Who cleans up after you cook? OP says, thanks for the book. I'll definitely read it. As for the cleanup, it's usually the person that doesn't cook who's the one in charge of dishes and general tidying up. But mostly we each handle our own mess. He works very odd hours, so us having dinner together is not usual. I think that's why I got so angry at him when he refused to have dinner. Update. Hi, everyone. I want to thank you all for the comments and opinions. After reading all of them, I decided I needed to have a conversation with my husband. So Friday, after taking the dogs for a walk, we sat down and talked like normal adults. First, we set some ground rules about no phones during dinner, unless it's
Nice.
work or urgent family-related stuff. I wanted to address the way he reacted because I felt it was not only out of character, but also very over the top. So yes, he confessed he's struggling with a lot of things emotionally not related to us, but mostly he felt sorry for ruining the moment by being on his phone and tried, very poorly, to try and keep the conversation going and got frustrated when I shut down. I told him we could have kept talking about something else had he not acted the way he did and blamed me. All it took was to say sorry and move on instead of making something huge and disrespectful. He told me he understood and promised to do better. We also talked about how if I say something, I mean it. So if I say I'm not angry, but I don't want to continue talking about something, I'm not being mysterious or cryptic. I actually mean that, and he needs to trust me. He explained his reasoning behind this, and it's because he assumes it's a way for me to try and make him fight for the relationship or for my happiness, and that's where he gets frustrated. And by the way, I'll be so frustrated if you don't listen to full episodes with stories just like this one. Wherever you're listening to podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just search OK Storytime. And you've got a whole bunch of stories, and they are not silent. They are full of words.
Ooh, yeah.
And you can get distracted while you listen to them because you can always rewind.
Ooh, baby.
There is a little bit more story here.
Sure is.
Let's go ahead and finish that off.
All right.
So again, I reiterated that if I'm angry or sad or whatever, I'll let him know. If I say we can move on from something, I mean it. I guess I'm not the only one with a flair for the dramatic after all. So overall, I think we had a good talk. Hopefully, if something similar happens, we're able to handle it better. For those who said to divorce him immediately, I'm loving that extreme chaotic energy. It's probably the same thing I would have said to any of my friends. But nuance exists, and love exists.
It would be crazy to divorce over you guys having one fight about a phone
Yeah.
after over 20 years of marriage.
That would be really...
Anyone who told you to divorce should never get married.
They're
not
the
ready.
The internet is a place of extreme opinion.
Yeah, that's crazy.
we all
Never,
know-
not once in this story did I think this is divorce worthy.
We all
But
know
that's
Reddit.
Reddit.
Loves to
That's
tell
Reddit.
people to get divorced.
That's true.
And sometimes they're on the money.
Sometimes they're right, but you know what? Broken clock is right sometimes. Twice a day, usually.
I still think this relationship is worth it, but if I ever have a change of heart, I'll reach out for sure. At least we'll know. She'll let us know if she's divorcing.
She will.
But that is the end of that story. My mother-in-law excluded me from a trip while I'm seriously sick.
I am ill. I can't go.
I mean, that you should be excluded, maybe. Let's find out.
Trigger warning for mentions of child.
I, 30 female, have recently been really sick and in and out of the hospital getting infusion treatments. My husband has been my rock through it all. By the way, this comes from user Clearing the Garage, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota,
I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
and we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers all the time. We don't know everything. Duh, nobody does. But just let us know what you would do in the comments. Last year, we moved states because my in-laws asked us to. They have a micro family and want us to stay close. Since our move, they've never once come to visit us except after we bought our house. They visited for an hour and left to beat traffic. We've driven to them over 15 times an hour each way, and they still expect we go to them, even though the drive now wipes me out and risks my health. I don't have any family or close friends here besides them, and despite my husband asking several times for help, they always make excuses as to why they can't visit, even though they're both retired. What's going on now is that my mother-in-law and husband share a birthday, and she recently called him saying it would be fun if the whole family went on a week-long trip to celebrate and couple it with Thanksgiving. When my husband said he'd need to check with me since I have appointments and, his job, she told him it's best that I stay home and rest while everyone else went. He immediately told her no. He wasn't leaving me when I'm this sick, especially during the holiday. He asked if we could postpone until I completed these rounds of treatment, and just stick to something local. That's when mother-in-law dropped that she'd already booked a resort 3 hours away and spent thousands, and that if we didn't come, we'd be ruining Thanksgiving and her birthday. When I asked why she'd book it without confirming with us, she said it was the only week his brother was free. That's when it really hit me. She never intended to include me and possibly my husband. Her only concern was his brother's availability, whom she sees every day. It felt like she either purposely booked the trip to guilt my husband into going without me, or as a way to exclude us. I was over it, exhausted, and just done with the lack of effort and care from her. I asked my husband if I could talk to her, and in the calmest, most sarcastic tone, I said, "Please don't cancel your vacation. I really, truly hope you have such an amazing time on your birthday. So much so that you forget we're even there because we won't be.
Ooh,
Bye."
dang. I hope that you don't even like think we're there because we aren't there.
It's just your birthday only.
Yeah,
It's only
it's
your
just-
birthday.
just
So
you.
enjoy it because
Yeah.
you don't even need to even think about us. We
Yeah.
won't even be there.
We won't be thinking about you.
Then I hung up the phone and I said, "Ka-chow."
Good shit.
My husband took the phone and put it in his pocket. He told me he had no notes, and we carried on with our day.
Nice.
Now, mother-in-law, father-in-law, and brother-in-law are calling nonstop, leaving messages saying I was rude and disrespectful. So am I the a-hole for hanging up on my mother-in-law after she booked a family holiday that excluded me? And there are comments. And no, I don't think you were that. I don't think you're the a-hole.
Did you know probably what was gonna happen when you said it? Sure. Does it make you the a-hole? Like it was gonna upset her regardless. So like you just have to kind of know that. But as long as you know going in that she's gonna get mad and say all this stuff about you, then we're good.
Yeah, it's just super annoying. If I'm your partner and that's my mom, and it's like, so you spent all this money to plan a birthday where you knew my wife is ill, and you want me to leave town and leave her alone to deal with this? What if something happens and she needs my help? So you just want me to leave town without her so that she can rest?
Yeah.
We could have done anything else.
Anything.
You did it on purpose.
You did.
Comment number 1. Time to put the house on the market and move to greener pastures. Comment 2 says, not the a-hole. I have a feeling this mother-in-law is very self-centered and is willing to upset other people but gets super angry if she's on the other end and never apologizes for anything. But that's just a wild guess. OP says, she is the kind of person that volunteers you for things without asking, and then gets mad when you say no because she already promised someone else you'd do it. For instance, I am a former chef and can cook just about anything. Well, she would text out of the blue and say, hey, you're making beef Wellington and a side of your choice for my friends on Saturday. 10 people will be there. I would just give my phone to my husband and say, you have to call your mom again because she thinks I'm making her a beef Wellington for a party. Comment 3 says, not the a-hole. And I think you should talk to your husband about moving out of the area, possibly closer to your own family if that would be desirable. I'm especially alarmed at the way they've tried to convince your husband to go on holiday without you. Maybe they secretly want to drive a wedge between you and your spouse so they can get you out of the family. You know, the whole get them alone so they can start subtly trashing you angle. Alternatively, your husband's brother is the golden child, and your in-laws don't care if their plans don't work for you and your husband. And there is an update. Do we have anything to add?
I think moving further away is probably the best option, and that will fix most of your issues.
What a weird play
Yeah.
for them to be like, move closer to us, to your micro family. We're so healthy for you. You put us in a smoothie and we give you vitamin A. Microgreens joke.
Yeah, I know, I got that.
That was just for the people who might not have.
I got it.
We know you went to Harvard.
I went to
We can read
Harvard.
it on your sweater.
Oh, that
of course you
that
you
jet
did.
lag is catching up to me.
Update. I posted this question after telling a coworker the story, and she was adamant that I needed to apologize. She said hanging up on anyone, especially my mother-in-law, was unspeakable, no matter the circumstance. Her reaction made me wonder if I'm the a-hole, but after reading your messages, I was flooded with relief. My husband and I have still been receiving voicemails from mother-in-law and brother-in-law. They've escalated to the point that we have now blocked them on all platforms of social media, email, and our cell phones. The last message my husband received was that they knew something was wrong with me because I have no family. For context, they are aware I was treated badly as a child. I left home at 18 and went no contact. Our house had no locks on the bedroom doors or bathrooms, so there was nowhere to hide from the windows were nailed shut, and if I didn't return home right after school, which was timed, then my dad would do things. People weren't allowed over. Not that I wanted them to come over. And my friends used to joke I lived in Fort Knox because of the security gate and system that the entire neighborhood could see. The only good thing that came from my suffering was perfect grades. It was expected that I be an absolutely perfect student and always be respectful, presentable, and professional. Anything less than straight A's meant being beaten until I had no tears left to cry. When I threatened to call CPS once after a pretty bad incident, my dad said something along the lines of, if you think this is bad, it's worse out there. You're a girl and will be used like a plaything.
Jeez.
Your dad sucks.
Yeah. No wonder you don't talk to these people anymore. They're terrible people.
So I kept my head down, worked hard, and did what I was told, and acted like I fell in line, and then got the heck out of there. I never looked back. His family is well aware of my story, so it was quite shocking to hear his mom bring this up now. For those asking why we moved when asked, my husband's family presented as very close. Both his parents were only children, and his grandparents are no longer living. They are very tight-knit and still take annual family vacations and spend holidays together. Brother-in-law moved a few years ago, and traditions carried on. Last year, brother-in-law got engaged and announced that he and his future wife would be trying to have children soon after their wedding. We were all ecstatic. Always a weird thing to announce.
Yeah, I know. I agree. It's like, hey, we're having spicy sleep now. I want everyone to know.
Hey, just
We're
wanted to
having
give you
unprotected spicy sleep now.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you the visual. That's happening. Congratulate us.
It's all raw dogging over here. Like, what? I don't want to know that.
We were all ecstatic. They haven't had a baby in the family for 30 years since my husband was born. Brother-in-law's future in-laws live a few blocks from him and are going to help out whenever they have the baby. And my in-laws threw in their hat to also help out. That's how the move came about. We figured if we could find jobs equal to what we have now, then why not? It was actually welcomed since at that point I wasn't living 20 miles away from my parents and was a little anxious about running into them. My husband and I also talked about the possibility of moving, but it seems almost impossible with work, insurance, selling a house, and medical treatments. I was on the waiting list for 2 months with the infusion clinic, and we live in one of the largest metropolitan cities. I can't imagine the setback of trying to get initial appointments with specialists again and insurance approval. It would negatively affect my health and set me back, if not worsen my condition. Then there's insurance and finding a new job. Neither of our workplaces have other offices, so we'd have to get new roles. And I've even heard competition has been tough with layoffs. Coming in as a candidate that needs accommodations for serious illness would be a tough sell. I'd practically miss 1 or 2 days a week. And by the way, you could practically listen forever to more stories just like this one on your favorite podcast platform, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to podcasts, just search OK Storytime. And you can listen till your ears need to be replaced by new ones.
Till your ears fall off. Till the cows come home.
And then you glue them back on and you hear those moos, baby.
Ooh.
And we've got a little bit more story.
Let's freaking hit it.
I do think you might need to stay here
Yeah.
instead of move. But
Start putting your foot down. Get your husband to put his foot down. Put your feet down.
yeah, it's just weird. It's a weird vibe. You
Yeah.
move 1 hour away and they're like, "No, we can't ever come over to you. Our micro family is in the backyard somewhere.
Yeah. We just can't leave them.
We can't. We got to find them." We're lucky that my place of work has been amazing and understanding. They cover 100% of my medical bills, which is unheard of. Congratulations. So for now, we're going to stay and we'll consider a move when I'm better. And at least we know our in-laws won't pay us a visit, so there's some grace in that. At this point, my husband and I acknowledge and accept that priorities have shifted for his family. We will act accordingly and create our own new holiday traditions. Any ideas? Also, thank you to everyone for your kind words, and you're right. My husband is pretty hot.
Heck yeah. Amen to that, sister.
And that is the end of that story.
My parents-in-law committed fraud and tried to disturb my life.
Fraud can be disturbing.
And this comes directly from the r/OK Storytime subreddit.
Yes!
I've been married 6 years to my husband, 35 male. I'm 33. I've had the same phone number for 15 years, and on Thursday, October 30th, the day before my husband's birthday, my father-in-law committed fraud and stole my number.
So did he commit fraud with your number?
I think that, yeah. He pretended to be my husband to deactivate it permanently. By the way, this comes from Clumsy Vampire 92, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, I tried my best to be kind and respectful to my in-laws, but ever since I told my father-in-law that no, he could not give my 6-month-old son Coca-Cola, he's hated me. No, you cannot give my 6-month-old son soda.
What do you mean? Wait, this is clearly a personal issue that you have with me.
I don't even think those babies are supposed to be drinking water yet.
Well, really?
Yeah.
It's true, you can't give babies water.
Oh.
Babies that age are still supposed to drink milk or formula. He admitted to trying to push my buttons at every visit since then, and when I didn't react, it made him angrier. I was pressured into joining a family phone plan to lower everyone's bills. It did lower everyone else's bill, but raised mine by $10. It was only a favor to them, and it gave my father-in-law access to steal my number. I was married for 3 years before I convinced my husband to let me meet his father. My husband always referred to him by name, not dad, which I understand now. I'd heard a lot of bad things about this man. I looked for the good in people and thought kindness would make him better. Yeah, nah. I made crafts with my son's handprints for them, sent birthday and holiday cards, hugged them at gatherings, and gave thoughtful gifts. I sent them texts and pictures of the kids and checked in often. I even pushed my husband to contact his father when he never wanted to. Don't do that. I don't like that that's being seen, I don't know, or presented as like a nice thing when clearly your husband has a very complicated relationship with his father who doesn't seem like a good guy.
I do think there is something to be said, though, because it's like,
I don't know.
you know, if people are like, I don't speak to that guy, and they can't, like, really explain why succinctly, not in, like,
Sure.
a, I don't want to talk about it
Yeah.
why, but in, like, a, I don't know, we just kind of, like, stopped. Then maybe you should.
There are different
But-
scenarios. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This person is like, no,
Not so
like,
much.
I don't want a relationship with Martin because he's Martin.
Yeah. Meanwhile, father-in-law and mother-in-law secretly hated me. I noticed mother-in-law wrote on Facebook about how much she loves and misses my husband's ex, calling her beautiful. This was
What?
after we'd been married for 2 years, before our first son was born. The ex replied and called her mom. Ew, how embarrassing. The ex tried to contact my husband after we got married. He told her to leave him alone, that he's happily married, and blocked her. She still tries to contact him. I saw she messaged him at 4 a.m., right after I gave birth to our second son. According to her Facebook, she's been engaged for 7 years. So embarrassing for this woman.
It's a very long engagement.
Yeah, also true. My husband and her broke up about 15 years ago. I mention this because father-in-law recently texted my mother saying my husband's going to replace me with his ex. My husband and I realized mother-in-law must have talked to father-in-law about this ex. I trust my husband completely. He said even if we broke up, which he never would want, he'd never go back to her because she cheated, played games, and acted disrespectful to him, and doesn't like kids. A few months ago, I let my in-laws babysit my son because they asked, even though I didn't need it. I thought it would be good for our relationship. My son and I would both cry when I dropped him off. I wanted my in-laws to be happy and like me. Every time I was around father-in-law, though, he talked down to me and also his wife, even in front of everyone. At my son's 3rd birthday, as we were leaving, father-in-law insisted on giving my son a popsicle in our car. My son had already had cake and ice cream. Despite being told no by multiple family members, he said, "You don't tell me what I can do. I can do what I want." Not with my child. No.
I wonder where
You can eat that
comes
popsicle.
from.
I don't know.
Where does that come from? And it's like, he's being like, I'm a man. I'm a man. You can't tell me what to do. I'm a man. I will give this child the popsicle
If I
whenever
want.
I want.
I'm gonna do it. You can't say anything. Later that day, I texted mother-in-law and told her my sons would no longer be allowed over there without my husband and me present. A few weeks passed, and we invited mother-in-law to a Renaissance festival with us. She acted excited for a week, but the night before, she said she couldn't go because she wasn't allowed. That is terrifying.
Look, honestly, I'm fully not contacting either of them.
Yeah.
As soon as I find out as OP's partner that my mom was texting my ex being
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you're our actual
There's like no contact going forward.
I mean, it's one thing about being like not supportive of my relationship. Okay, you're not the most supportive. Actively trying to sabotage it and like have my ex be still interested in me, you're way out of line.
Agreed. I found out the car seat in their car for my son was forward facing when I'd specifically asked for it to be rear facing. My husband asked mother-in-law about it, and she told father-in-law I called her a liar. I never called her that, but I wasn't sure if I was being lied to. Father-in-law flipped. He told my husband he must divorce me immediately and take my home, my cars, and my kids. He said to take everything from me or he'd be cut out of his will. My husband told father-in-law F the will and that he'd screwed seeing us ever again. We had doctor appointments that week at a new location and I needed my phone for GPS. The doctor's office sent paperwork over text that I couldn't fill out because my number was gone. It was affecting our kids. My mom felt bad for me and my kids. She texted mother-in-law saying she needs to get father-in-law in check because this is affecting the grandkids and I need my phone for emergencies. Get off that plan, girl. Get off that plan.
Yeah, just get back on the plan you were on before.
Father-in-law then threatened my parents over text, insulted them, and said disgusting things. Mother-in-law said it was okay because my mom texted first, even though she didn't swear, insult, or threaten anyone. Father-in-law lied and said he's a millionaire who's given us thousands of dollars. Actually, my husband's grandma gave father-in-law $10,000 to buy my husband's truck, but he only gave us $7,000 when we could have sold it to someone else for $8,000. We sold it for hospital bills we're still paying off. My husband sold his old house for about $175,000 and gave all that money to his parents to save their house. Why?
Something about duty
I guess so. You
and
really like your parents.
responsibility and honor.
They never paid him back, but constantly treat him like he owes them more. Father-in-law has also been on mother-in-law's Facebook, pestering my husband. We found out mother-in-law is two-faced and has always talked badly about me behind my back, but would smile to my face and hug me. She fed any information about me, mostly wrong, to father-in-law to try and use my insecurities to hurt me. Verizon said they already disconnected and recycled my phone number and couldn't give it back, even though their contract says they're not supposed to recycle a deactivated number for 50 days. I had that number for 15 years. It's tied to all our hospital bills, our dentist, our eye doctor, and my kids' hospital information. I lost a voicemail of a deceased relative I'll never get to hear again. It took a week of arguing over the phone and being at the Verizon store from open until close, with every associate telling me no. Then my husband started the process to sue the phone company, and suddenly they were able to give me my phone number back. I switched to Straight Talk and recovered my old voicemails. My husband wasn't able to recover his number, but he decided it was probably best his parents wouldn't know his new number anyway, or his ex. This has been a nightmare. I plan on never seeing or talking with them again. They also won't be seeing the children I suffered to create, and my husband agrees. He feels disrespected and stabbed in the back by them as well.
We're sick of these mother-in-laws.
If they're alive in 18 years, and if my children want to meet them when they're adults, that will be my children's choice. For now, I'm done. And there is an update, but yeah, I think that's the only thing you can do. They literally stole your number.
Yeah.
That's it.
And isn't it funny how once you are like, well, I guess I will sue you for breach of contract.
Yeah.
Verizon goes, hey, now wait a
Whoa,
minute
whoa,
now.
whoa.
Hold up, wait a minute. Suddenly, I have found your number.
So crazy. What was that doing there? Update, my mother-in-law tried to contact my husband through his aunt over Facebook, saying she's filing for divorce. My husband and I laughed. Ha!
Ha ha!
He says he'll believe it when he sees it. I said father-in-law tried to get you to divorce me and is now being Uno reversed. We both laughed. By the way, you can laugh when you listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. Any final thoughts?
We dealt with it for a long time, didn't we?
Yeah,
We dealt with these in-laws for a long time, and now we're gonna deal with them for no time.
No time at all. 0 time, actually. I looked through my husband's phone while he was asleep and noticed his mom, before we blocked her, said a lot of hurtful things about me and my mom, trying to blame me for everything. I hadn't even texted, called, or contacted either in-law during everything. I only blocked them. Before I read what she was texting, I thought maybe if she got a divorce and her life back in order, I could forgive her and let her be in our lives again. But after that, all the disrespect and no remorse, I think we're better off without her or father-in-law. My husband didn't tell me what mother-in-law said because he already decided he didn't want her in our lives again and thought it would only hurt me more. And that is the end of the story.